Hey friends, before we dive into tonight's story, did you know that nearly 80% of the people who watch these videos aren't subscribed? If you're enjoying this kind of content, consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps a lot, and it keeps these long stories going. Also, I'd love to hear from you. What time is it right now where you are, and which city are you listening from tonight? And if these stories help you sleep, feel free to tap the thanks button to support the channel. It truly means a lot. All right, let's get into it. I slide out of the cruiser, and the chill rain immediately soaks through my jacket. The church looms ahead. Ancient gray stone slick with water, its stained glass windows dark, except for the faint glow of moonlight filtering through colored panes. I check my mic. Heart to dispatch, we're on scene. Static crackles back. Copy that. Silent 911 call. No further intel. I glance at Lopez. His jaw is tight. We both know silent calls usually mean someone's in danger, but around here, danger often wears a friendly face. We approach the heavy wooden door. The hushed drip of water from the eaves is the only sound. I lift my fist to knock, but Lopez has already rapped twice. The door creaks. A sliver of pale face appears, eyes wide, unblinking. The woman looks past Lopez, straight at me, though I'm out of any line of sight. I swallow. She opens the door a little wider and then drops to her hands and knees, sliding backward into the dark entryway. Camille, Camille, she moans, voice ragged. Ma'am, Lopez says, voice steady. We're looking for Camille. Are you okay? She just keens, pushing herself lower, crawling toward the sanctuary. I step inside, flashlight beam cutting through incense-tinged air. The wood floor is slick. Pews stretch before us, and beyond them the stair down to the basement yawns like a mouth. The single bulb overhead flickers. Dispatch, we have visual on one female subject, I say. She's unusual behavior, crawling, calling for someone named Camille. More static. Stay safe, dispatch replies. I move forward. Every footstep echoes. The smell of mildew and old hymnals fills my nostrils. My boots squeak. The pews are empty, the altar untouched. Moonlight seeps through the stained glass in dusty shafts. Then I hear it. A distant drip, like water onto stone. I nod to Lopez. He kneels by the basement door and pushes it open. A foul draft seeps up. Let's go, I murmur. Downstairs, the flashlight picks out damp stone walls, folding chairs stacked against one side, shelves of leather-bound Bibles on the other. Water pools on the flagstone floor. The woman's keening grows louder behind me. I sweep the beam across the room. Nothing moves until the beam settles on a dark corner and I catch the glint of eyes. I jerk my light, empty. The layout is wrong. I step into a hallway and find myself back by the pews. I blink. Lopez? I whisper. No answer. My heart hammers. I turn and there he is, standing silent by a sealed door, paint crusted in the seams. He waves me over. I crouch beside him. What is it? He shrugs. Thought I heard something. He pries at the door. It groans open to reveal an attic-like space. Pink insulation, a single bulb dangling, dusty boxes piled high. No bedrooms, just storage. A child's laughter echoes, distant, warping. My blood runs cold. Behind me, the woman's ragged breathing. I whirl. She's 2 feet away, though I didn't hear her move. Her eyes are black pits. She whispers, Camille. I step back. We need to clear this. I gesture to Lopez. Now. He nods, voice tight. We retrace our steps, flashlights bobbing. The hallway bends unnaturally. I swear I'm passing the same door frames, the same damp sconce, the same puddle of water, over and over. My radio crackles. Heart, status? I fumble the mic. We're leaving. We burst into the night air. Lightning flickers. Rain drums on the cruiser roof. I glance back. The church door stands shut. No light inside, no sign of the woman. Only the hush of the storm. Lopez climbs in. I close the door. Dispatch, Unit 2 is clear. 20 minutes on scene. My voice sounds hollow. My watch says nearly an hour has passed. As we pull away, I catch movement in the rearview mirror. Someone standing at the door, watching us. But when I blink, there's nothing. Just the church, lost in fog. And in my mind, the faint echo of a child's laughter and the whisper, Camille. I press my back against the cruiser's door, heart hammering, and force myself to breathe slow. The rain hammers the roof in frantic staccato. Lopez fumbles with the radio, static. He curses under his breath and slams it shut. I know he wants to say more, but words fail us both. I glance back at the church. Its silhouette is swallowed by fog. The single flickering lamp by the entrance sputters once, then dies, leaving the stained glass windows as dark panes. The air feels heavier now, as if the building itself exhales. We're not done, I murmur, more to myself than to Lopez. He looks at me, expression torn, part relief to leave, part dread that we're abandoning something we shouldn't. I step off the gravel drive and head back up the narrow lane. Lopez hesitates, then follows. My boots churn mud. The rain seeps through the cuffs of my pants. Every instinct screams to get back in the cruiser. Radio for backup, run. But I can't leave, not yet. I stop at the church door. It stands closed, perfectly still. My flashlight beam trembles as I raise it and tap the door. No answer. I push. It swings inward on ancient hinges with a hollow groan. Lopez catches up. Dana. I cut him off. Shh. We slip inside. The damp smell of stone and mildew wraps us. The pews stretch into shadow. The air is colder here. I sweep the beam toward the altar. The trapdoor we forced open earlier lies shut, seamless with the floorboards. No sign we were ever down there. A single note, like an organ key stuck, resonates from overhead. I freeze. Lopez levels his light up at the choir loft. The organ's keys move slowly, though no one sits there. The lamp above flickers. A weird half-smile tugs at my lips. This is insane. Then the whisper, Camille. It drifts from the nave, soft as moth wings. My pulse spikes. I step forward, boots clacking on wood. The whisper comes again, closer. Camille. I follow the sound toward the center aisle. Lopez stays by the door, back pressed to the frame, eyes wide. The whisper grows into a soft chant. Childlike voice repeating the name. I reach the altar rail. The whisper is louder now, right under my feet. I glance down. The floorboards are warped around the trapdoor seam. I kneel and press my fingers to the wood. It vibrates with that soft chant. Lopez, I say, voice low. We need to open it. He shakes his head. Dana, The organ surges, a chord jangling through the church. Dust falls from the rafters. Lopez jumps. I drop my shoulder into the rail and push. The trapdoor snaps open. A gush of cold air and that child's laughter tumbles upward. I shine my light down. A stone stair spirals into darkness. Water drips. The chant echoes up. Camille, Camille. I glance at Lopez. He flickers between fear and duty. Finally, he nods. We climb down. The stairs end in a narrow tunnel hewn from bedrock. My beam picks out damp walls slick with moss. The floor is wet. Every step splashes. The chant fades into the drip of water. We advance slowly. The tunnel curves tight and opens into a low-ceilinged chamber. In the center sits a small wooden chair. On it, a rag doll, matted and old, wearing a cracked porcelain mask. The chant has stopped. Silence presses in. I swallow. Camille? No answer. My breath fogs in the beam. I step closer. The doll's head tilts. I freeze. The mask's empty eye holes seem to stare back. I crouch, reach out, and the doll's head snaps up, toppling backward. A hollow click echoes. Behind me, Lopez whispers, "Dana!" I spin. He points to the far wall, scratched into the stone. Camille, in jagged letters, fresh and dark. Beneath it, 2 tiny handprints smudged in mud. My stomach knots. I step forward to inspect. The handprints trail away into a narrow side passage. The doll's chant, soft tapping, resumes, coming from down that passage. I draw my weapon, flashlight in the other hand. "Stay close," I murmur. We follow the handprints. The passage slopes down and opens into a cavernous crypt. Row upon row of alcoves carved into stone. Empty, the air smells of rot. My beam lands on a figure crouched at the far end, a little girl in a white dress, back to us. "Camille?" I call. She doesn't move. The tapping stops, then she turns, head lolling, eyes black as oil. She smiles, wide and wrong. I step forward. "It's okay, we're here to help." She giggles, a sound like breaking glass, and stands. The doll from the chair lies at her feet, its mask cracked. She picks it up and holds it out. Lopez coughs. "Dana, look." I glance down. Where the doll mask touched the stone, a pool of water ripples, forming shapes. Faces pressed from below, mouths open in silent screams. The pool spreads, inching toward us. I yank Lopez back. "We need to go, now!" We race back through the tunnel. The chanting follows, growing frantic. "Camille, Camille!" Water seeps up, soaking our boots. I shove Lopez up the stairs. He hauls on the trapdoor. I push from below. It slams shut. We crash back into the sanctuary. The organ moans one final chord and stops. The church is deathly quiet. My flashlight beam dances across empty pews. No doll, no girl, no handprints, only the faint drip of water. Lopez slams his hand on the wall. "Dana, what the hell was that?" I jam a hand on the radio. "Dispatch, we need units." Static. Dead. We sprint outside into the rain. I glance back. The lamp overhead flickers once more. In the stained glass, I think I see the silhouette of a little girl watching. Then the light dies. Lopez leans against the cruiser, breathing hard. I check my watch. 10 minutes elapsed. My gut tells me an hour passed in that basement. I force the engine to start. As we pull away, I catch, in the rearview mirror, the church door creaking open, and a small figure slipping out into the fog. I don't know if it was Camille or something that wore her name, but I do know we won't be back. Not ever. And when I close my eyes at night, I still hear, soft as a lullaby, the echo of that chant. "Camille, Camille." The cruiser's engine thrums beneath me, a hollow heartbeat in the drenched stillness. Lopez sits beside me, shoulders slumped, eyes fixed on the dark road ahead. I kill the engine again. Rain hisses on the hood. Neither of us speaks. My hands tremble on the wheel. I rub my palms on my pants and try to steady my breathing. The memory of that little girl's hollow eyes and the pool of faces pressed beneath the mask burns behind my eyelids. I force myself to look away from the rearview mirror where the church still gleams like a wound in the mist. "Dana." Lopez's voice is soft, laced with exhaustion. "What now?" I swallow. "We report what we saw." My voice echoes strangely in the cab. "But back up, we can't go back down there alone." He nods, running a hand through his wet hair. "Dispatch?" I tap the mic. "Heart to dispatch. Request immediate backup at Oak Ridge Road Church. Possible unknown subject." Static, then a click. Unit 2, you there? Silence. I glance at my watch, 2:47 a.m. We've been off the books for 10 minutes. Time stretches and warps, just like that basement. Fine, I say. We pack it up. Wait on Route 17. Backup will find us. I kill the lights. We slip through the fog, tires humming on wet asphalt, until the church vanishes behind a curtain of rain. Inside the cruiser, the world feels too big, too empty. Lopez lights a cigarette, the tip flaring gold for a moment. I look out at the darkness, swallowing the road. "Do you think she followed us?" he asks, a voice low. I don't answer. I'm replaying the trap door, the tunnel, the doll's mask shifting in my hands, the way the walls seemed alive, breathing, the way Lopez vanished and reappeared. I close my eyes. I hear it again, the chant of that doll, the distant hymn from the organ, the drip, drip, drip. I open my eyes. The road is empty. Lopez stubs out his cigarette. "We'll wait," he says. I nod, but I don't trust the waiting. I need to know what's down there. I need to know what Camille is. 15 minutes later, headlights sweep through the fog. 2 cruisers slide in behind us. Backup arrives, Officer Patel and Sergeant Nguyen. We step out into the rain, 4 uniforms under 1 umbrella. I point to the church lane. "Silent 911, I say. Subject exhibiting erratic behavior. Basement, trapdoor tunnel, possible child endangerment or worse." Nguyen's jaw tightens. "Let's do this by the book." We approach together. Patel clicks on her light. We move up the lane. The church door gapes open as if expecting us. The flickering exterior lamp is dead. Inside, the sanctuary is void of shadows. Only the pale wash of moonlight through stained glass. I swallow. The hair on my neck prickles. I step through the threshold. The air is colder. The wood floor gleams wet. The trap door lies silent again. Patel kneels. "Still sealed," she murmurs. I slide the crowbar back under the seam. Lopez and Nguyen press down. The door pops open. A rush of damp air greets us, a breath from the earth. "Stay close," I murmur. We descend. The stairs creak beneath our weight. At the bottom, the tunnel yawns. Water pools at my boots. The beam from Patel's flashlight picks out moss on the walls. I lead, Lopez behind me, then Nguyen, then Patel. The tunnel curves. We enter the chamber. The doll's chair sits empty. The porcelain mask lies shattered on the floor. Nguyen crouches, examining the shards. Looks old. He holds up a piece. A child's painted cheek. Patel's light sweeps the alcoves. No bodies. No sign of Camille. I step to the far wall. Scratch marks. Camille scrawled in fresh mud. Beneath, the small handprints now half erased by dripping water. A soft giggle echoes. I spin. The little girl stands just inside the archway. White dress stained gray. Eyes unreadable. She holds the rag doll, now missing an arm. "Camille," I call. She tilts her head and giggles again. Then she scurries down a narrow side passage I hadn't noticed before. I hesitate only a moment, then give chase. The passage slopes steeply down. I lose sight of the others. My boot splashes. The walls close in. My flashlight beam flickers. "Officer Hart?" Nguyen's voice echoes from above. "Wait." I pause. The girl's laughter drifts back, distant. My heart pounds. I want to run after her, but something stops me. A shape moves at the edge of my light, a figure crouched in shadow. I sweep the beam, nothing. Then the tunnel behind me groans. I whirl. Water seeps through the stones, dripping in rhythm with a slow heartbeat. The ground trembles. I pound up the tunnel, heart in my throat. The passage seems longer, endless. My boots splatter. I burst into the chamber. Lopez and the others stand frozen, faces pale. Behind them, the trapdoor slams shut on its own. Patel fumbles her radio. "Sergeant!" Static. A wind rushes through the crypt, though no opening remains. The doll's chair topples. The mask's cracked pieces skitter across the stone. Nguyen curses softly. "This is impossible." I step forward, voice shaking. "We leave now." We climb the stairs. The sanctuary looms silent. The organ sits untouched, but I swear I hear a single keystroke, low and dying. We tumble outside. The rain has slackened to a drizzle. The fog swirls. The church door creaks closed behind us. We don't speak as we head to the cruisers. The air tastes of cold earth and old sorrow. Back at dispatch, I file the report. 20 minutes on scene. No sign of subject, no evidence beyond the mask shards. The log reads, "Unfounded call. Possible prank." I type the last words, hands steady though my mind reels. I sign off. Lopez and I walk to our cruiser. I pause under the street lamp. The wet road glitters. I press my palm to the damp wood of my radio microphone. "Dispatch, this is Officer Hart. I'm en route." I swallow, to check on a missing juvenile. Silence, then static. Then clear as day a whisper, "Camille." I freeze. The hair on my arm stands. Lopez touches my shoulder. "Dana?" I step back, eyes locked on the dark church silhouette. "We're not done," I say. And I know we'll never be done, because something in that church claimed a piece of me, and it whispers my name when the lights go out. I slid out of the cruiser into the slick night, rain reduced now to a fine mist that clung to my uniform. The church's silhouette stood half hidden in fog, its stained glass windows dark voids. My pulse thundered as I flipped open my flashlight, beam trembling, and stepped toward that yawning door once more. Lopez fell in beside me, face drawn, eyes haunted. Behind us, Patel and Nguyen hovered at the edge of the gravel drive, weapons low but ready. I tasted the damp stone air and swallowed hard. We had come back to finish it, to prove it wasn't some shared hallucination. Inside, the sanctuary was deathly silent. The single bulb overhead flickered, casting quivering shadows across the polished wooden pews. I heard my own breath, loud against the hush. I moved down the aisle, each step echoing, and glanced at the altar rail where the trapdoor lay concealed. The others followed, Lopez left, Patel center, Nguyen right. No words, none necessary. We all felt it. The shift in atmosphere, the heavy expectancy of something waiting. I pressed the crowbar into the seam. Wood groaned. The trapdoor popped open, revealing that black hole of stairs. A chill gust rose, carrying the scent of moss and ancient earth. I swallowed. "Stay close," I whispered. Lopez was first down, then Patel, then Nguyen. I brought up the rear, flashlight on the damp steps. Water dripped in the tunnel below, a slow heartbeat. At the bottom, the tunnel forked. 2 dark corridors yawned left and right. The scratch-deep letters spelling Camille glistened on the wall between them. The handprints had multiplied, tiny smears leading into both passages, as if she had run in circles. I crouched, tracing one print with a gloved finger. It felt impossibly small, childlike, and yet the tunnel smelled of decay and something far fouler. "We split," I said. "Lopez with me down the left, Patel and Nguyen take the right, radio on secure." I clipped my mic. Static hissed. Each of us clicked on headsets and nodded. We moved, flashlights carving separate cones of light into the damp darkness. Left corridor. Walls closed in, dripping water making slick rivulets. My boots splashed in shallow puddles. Every footstep sounded magnified. I heard Lopez breathing ahead, cautious. Then, a soft scuff behind me. I spun, light swinging, nothing. My stomach clenched. I advanced, heart banging. The scuff came again, closer. I stepped faster. The scuff matched my pace, then stopped when I stopped. I froze. Lopez's voice crackled. "Dana, you okay?" I swallowed. "Yeah, let's keep moving." We rounded a bend into a low chamber. In the center, a row of old wooden chairs, overturned, legs pointed like broken teeth. The floor was slick with mud and something darker, stains I didn't want to identify. My beam caught a smear on one chair, a tiny handprint in dark red. I knelt. Lopez shone his light. "We need to mark this," he murmured. I hit the radio. "Evidence, possible blood, 6 o'clock position in this chamber." Behind me, the tunnel mouth sealed itself in shadow. I jerked around. Lopez touched my arm. "Dana," I swung back. Nothing but darkness. My pulse spiked. I forced calm. We took photos with our phones. The red handprint looked fresh. I bagged a sample. The air felt colder. On the right side, I heard a scream, faint, childlike, echoing. I spun. Lopez's eyes went wide. That came from the other team. I clicked my radio. "Patel, Nguyen, you copy, static." My stomach dropped. I tapped again. Silence. I grabbed Lopez's arm. "We go back, now." He nodded, face pale. We raced down the corridor. Water dripped faster, plip-plop like a metronome. The overhead rock arched lower. My shoulders scraped the wet stone. I rounded the bend and found myself staring at the same chamber of chairs. Again. I blinked. I was certain I'd come from the opposite direction. "Lopez?" I whispered. No answer. My throat closed. I shone the light ahead. The tunnel stretched empty. I hurried forward. Then the wall shifted, and I backed into a solid stone face. The beam danced on carved letters, CAMILLE, fresh. I swallowed bile. I pounded my fist. "Lopez!" A scuff behind me. I whirled. He stood there, breathing hard, though he hadn't been there a moment ago. Relief and fury washed through me. "Don't do that," I snapped. He shook his head. "We need to find the others." We retraced steps to the fork. Only the fork was gone. A single tunnel led on. We followed it, hearts hammering. The air grew colder still. My breath fogged. Then voices. Patel's voice, tight. "I'm not staying here, Nguyen. We stick together." They argued low. We ran toward the sound. We spilled into a vast crypt. Alcoves carved into the stone walls, each empty. The ceiling arched high, dripping condensation. In the center, Patel and Nguyen stood back to back, flashlights raised. They pointed to the far wall. There, scrawled in mud, "Officer Hart." My stomach dropped. Beneath, 2 prints, one adult palm, one tiny child's, leading into a narrow side arch I'd never seen. Lopez swallowed. "That wasn't there." I pressed my gun out. "We follow." We entered the arch. The passage sloped steeply, water pooling at our ankles. The walls closed in. I heard my own heartbeat. Then, soft giggling. Right at my ear, I jerked, shining my light. Nothing. The giggle again, from behind Lopez. He whirled. His light caught the flutter of white fabric, and a small figure darted out of sight. "Camille," I called. Silence. Then a soft, mocking clap echoing off stone. My skin crawled. I motioned for the others to move. We came to a chamber lined with old filing cabinets, rusted, warped. Papers littered the floor. Baptismal records dating back a century. Names scratched out. Birth dates erased. I stepped closer. The cabinets rattled. I shot Lopez a look. He nodded. We pulled open a drawer. Inside, a single porcelain doll head, mask cracked, hair matted, eyes black pits. I bagged it. The second drawer held children's shoes, tiny leather boots caked in mud. The third drawer, old police logs, handwritten calls to this church in the 1920s. Silent 911s, missing children, corpses found in tunnels. My head spun. The horror had a history, decades of lost souls. A low moan reverberated. The tunnel mouth behind us sealed itself in darkness. I drawn breath. We need to exit now. We sprinted back the way we came. The flood of water rose to mid-calf. The walls dripped. The moan turned into a chorus of whispers. Camille, hard. Camille. Our lights flickered. I heard metal scrape. Nguyen stumbled. He looked down. One of his boots was stuck in mud. He yanked free. The mud clung, and on it, the tiny handprints pressing up his leg. He froze. They're following me. I grabbed his arm. Run! We burst through the trapdoor into the sanctuary. The organ let out one keening note and died. The pews stood empty. The trapdoor slammed shut behind us. Lopez pounded it. It wouldn't budge. Patel rushed to the altar. Back door! She flung herself at the side exit. It gaped open. Rain sluiced in. We poured out into the night. I counted 4. Good. We didn't stop until the cruisers glowed ahead. We piled in, soaked and shaking. I locked the doors and stared at the church, now shuttered, silent. The mist curled around its steeple like a shroud. Patel fumbled her radio. Dispatch, this is Unit 2. Request hazmat and investigative. She broke off, face blanching. I followed her gaze. Something in the rearview mirror. A little girl stood on the lane's edge, white dress glowing phosphorescent in the rain, hair plastered to her cheeks. She lifted a tiny hand and waved. Her lips parted. Camille. Lopez slammed his door. She's still here, he shouted. The girl's feet sank into the gravel. She wavered, like smoke. Then she dissolved, vanishing into mist. Patel's radio burst to life. Unit 2, what's your status? I keyed the mic, voice hollow. We're clear. Leaving scene. We peeled away. I stole glances in the mirror. No sign of her. Only the church, retreating into fog. Back at the station, I processed evidence. The doll head, the shoes, the baptismal sheets. I logged it under unverified paranormal. My partner, Nguyen, refused to look me in the eye. Patel handed in her notice the next day. Lopez and I swapped shifts. But nights, I dream of that tunnel, of writing my name on the wall in mud, of chairs tipped like broken ribs, of that soft clap and childish giggle echoing in the dark. I wake at 2:13 a.m., always that time, hearing static on the radio and a voice whisper, Camille. This morning, I found wet footprints on my apartment floor. Tiny, muddy prints leading toward my bedroom door. They stop at the threshold. I haven't answered the 911 calls since. But sometimes, when I pass a church at night, I glance up and see a pale face in the stained glass, watching. And I know it's waiting. For me. I step out of the cruiser into the mist, boots sinking slightly into the soft gravel. The rain has eased to a whisper, but the air still clings cold and damp, seeping through my uniform. Lopez stands beside me, hood up, flashlight off, just listening. Behind us, the other unit's cruisers' idling lights paint the fog in pulsing halos, but out here it feels like we're the only souls left on Earth. I glance back at the church. Its stone facade looms like a sleeping giant, silent except for the faint drip of water from the roof. The heavy door stands shut now, as if daring us to return. My gut tells me that whatever we chased down into those tunnels didn't stay buried, and it definitely didn't stay inside. Ready? I whisper. Lopez nods, jaw set. We move toward the side exit, where Patel burst out, soaked, eyes wild. I push the door. It opens silently. We slip inside the vestibule. The air is colder here, a breath of ancient chill that settles on my neck. I sweep my light across the walls, framed church notices, Faded photographs of past pastors, a rack of outdated bulletins. Everything normal, until I catch the smear of mud on the floor, tiny footprints leading back into the sanctuary. I swallow. They came through here. I crouch to inspect. 4 small prints, then 2 adult boot prints. The mud is fresh. I bag a sample. Lopez radios it in. Dispatch confirms. No authorized personnel on scene. I stand and step into the nave. The sanctuary is empty, but I feel eyes on me. The pews stretch away, long empty corridors of polished wood. Moonlight filters through the stained glass, painting the floor in fractured color. The trapdoor seam gapes faintly in the floorboards near the altar. I nod to Lopez. He kneels and slides the crowbar under the seam. The wood groans. I shine. My light down the stairwell. Darkness yawns. I swallow and climb down first this time. Lopez right behind. The basement is colder, damper. My breath fogs. The beam picks out the overturned chairs, the scattered Bibles, the place where we found the doll head. Now the head is gone, no trace. The filing cabinets stand like sentinels. I step to the first cabinet and gently pull open a drawer. Inside, a tangle of roots, slick with mud, as if something clawed its way up from beneath. I close it. A soft scuff behind me. I whirl. Lopez's beam catches the curve of a small shoulder disappearing behind a shelf. "Stop!" I hiss. We creep forward. The shelf rattles. I reach out and push. It swings aside on hidden hinges, revealing a narrow shaft hewn in the bedrock. The tiny footprints lead in. My radio crackles. "Hart, you copy?" It's Patel, voice urgent. "We found Nguyen. He's pinned under debris in the right tunnel. He's alive, but barely." My heart twists. I key the mic. On our way, I turn to Lopez. "Cover me." He nods, leveling his light on the shaft. I climb in. The walls scrape my jacket. Water drips. The beam bobs. The footprints end at a low arch. I squeeze through. On the other side is a chamber lit by phosphorescent mold on the walls. An eerie green glow. In the center, a shallow pool ripples, though no water falls. The mold illuminates shapes beneath the surface. Dozens of pale faces, pressed against invisible membrane, mouths open in silent screams. My stomach lurches. I step back. A small splash to my right. I sweep the beam. A little girl stands at the pool's edge. White dress shimmering, hair plastered. Her eyes are voids. She holds the rag doll's missing arm. She tilts her head. "Camille?" I whisper. She giggles, and the mold on the walls pulses, brightening. The faces in the pool press harder, as if trying to escape. I realize with a jolt, this isn't a pool of water. It's a barrier between our world and something beneath. Behind me, a low rumble. I spin. The shaft I climbed through is sealing, rock sliding into place. I pound the wall. Lopez's light appears in the shaft momentarily before it closes. I'm alone with the girl and those trapped faces. She steps closer, dipping the doll arm into the pool. The water ripples outward, and I catch fleeting images. A terrified child, a policeman's uniform, that church floor above. Then the ripples converge into a single wave that surges toward me. I stumble back. The beam catches her face. She smiles, mouth widening impossibly. I scramble for my radio. "Hart to Lopez. Nguyen, Patel, where are you? We need extraction. Now." Silence. The pool's surface rises, forming a shallow wall. Faces emerge, dripping from the stone like wet laundry. The girl holds the doll arm aloft, chanting, "Camille, Camille." The voices of the drowned swirl in her chant. My training screams, "Get out." I turn and race back to the shaft. My boot splashes through something sticky. Blood? The pool's edge recedes, but the mold glows brighter, guiding me. I leap toward the shaft. My hand scrapes the rock. I dig in my nails. The roof quakes. A cold finger touches my shoulder. I whirl. The girl stands inches away, hand outstretched. Her eyes bore into mine. "Stay," she whispers. The voices beckon. I yank free and bolt up the shaft. Rock scrapes my shoulder, but I don't stop. I burst into the basement. Lopez and Patel are there, prying debris off Nguyen. He coughs, eyes wide. "Go!" I shout. Lopez slams the trapdoor shut behind me. We haul Nguyen up the stairs as the organ moans above. The sanctuary light flickers. We collapse outside into the rain. I look back. The church door stands closed. No glow, no mold, no pool, only the hush of the night. We load Nguyen into the cruiser. He's alive, bruised, whispering about children in the walls. Patel locks the doors. I slip back to the church, kneel, and press my palm to the wood. The seam of the trapdoor vibrates faintly, like a heartbeat. I know it's not over. As I climb in, I glance at the rack of evidence. The doll arm in my pocket, smeared with that phosphorescent mold. I slip it into an evidence bag. Lopez starts the engine. Headlights carve through the fog. We pull away. In the rearview mirror, the church stands empty, but in one stained glass pane, a pale face watches. A little girl's face, smiling. And somewhere beneath, Camille waits. The cruiser's taillights fade into the mist as we pull onto Route 17. Lopez leans forward in the passenger seat, unbuckling his belt. "Dana, you sure we got him all out?" His voice cracks. I glance at Nguyen slumped in back, pale but breathing. Patel sits beside him, staring at the doll arm sealed in the evidence bag. No one speaks as the storm lantern glow of the church vanishes behind the trees. I kill the engine. The world goes silent. Just the hum of our radios keyed open, waiting. I press my palm to the door. My uniform is stiff with mud, and something else I can't name. "We need to call it in," I say. "Full debrief, hazmat, psych evals." Lopez rubs his face. "I'm never going back there." "Neither am I agree. But I know that's not true. Something in that church claimed a piece of me. I can still feel the weight of those trapped faces, the slick chill of that underground pool, the girl's hollow eyes. A crackle on the radio. "Dispatch. Unit 2, status." I clear my throat. "We're en route to County Hospital with one injured, one refusing transport, one evidence secured. We'll file full report on arrival." The radio goes silent. I glance at Patel. She lifts the bag. The doll arm's mold glows faintly through the plastic. She swallows. "What do we do with this?" I take the bag. "Lock it down, label it unknown, stick to the facts. Blood, mold, 1920s records. No mention of anything else." My voice falters. I tuck the bag under my seat. Lopez shakes his head. "You think anyone will believe the tunnel? The faces?" I force a laugh. "They'll call it hypothermia, stress, mass confusion." I lean back, closing my eyes. The church's silhouette flickers behind my lids. Hours later, I sit in the precinct's evidence room, logging the doll arm. I type, Item 4, porcelain doll arm, cracked, covered in unidentified organic residue. Submitted to lab, I attach photos. No mold visible in the images. I hit save. In the sterile white lab down the hall, a technician swabs the arm. Under the microscope, the mold pulses. Tiny filaments crawling like veins. The tech's eyes widen. He runs a test. DNA, no human match. He repeats it. Same result. Back in my apartment, I unpack gear. My boots sit by the door. Mud still caked in the treads. I brush at the mud, revealing faint children's footprints imprinted in the rubber. My phone buzzes. A text from dispatch. Report received. Good work. I stare at the word work. I drop the phone. On my kitchen table lies the doll arm evidence bag. The mold stain has spread inside the plastic, creeping toward the zipper. I freeze. A soft giggle drifts through the open window. I spin. The room is empty. The giggle becomes a whisper. Camille. I back away. The doll arm lies on the table. Zipper seems stretched as if something inside pushes outward. My heart hammers. I know I should run, burn the bag, call Lopez. Instead, I pick it up, and the mold pulses under my fingers, warm. A single raindrop splatters on the window. I turn toward the dark street. In the reflection, I see her. The little girl in white, standing behind me, fingers tapping on the glass. Her eyes are voids. She smiles, and I hear that soft clap, the echo of broken porcelain. I drop the doll arm. It shatters on the floor, mold crawling across the tile like spilled ink. I stumble back. The whisper swells. Camille, Camille. I slam the window shut. The whisper stops. Silence. My reflection stares back, hollow-eyed, haunted. In the evidence room, unseen by any living soul, the shattered porcelain and mold seep into the floorboards, staining the concrete. Beneath, in the darkness, dozens of pale faces press upward, mouths open in silent screams. And somewhere, beneath the church on Oak Ridge Road, the trapdoor quivers, slowly opening. I step back as the trapdoor beneath the altar quivers, the ancient wood splintering in slow motion. Rain seeps through the cracks overhead, pattering onto the stone below like a gathering heartbeat. Lopez and Patel freeze beside me. Lopez's mouth hangs open, Patel's flashlight beam trembling. Nguyen lies on the floor, pale and shaking, clutching his side where the debris struck him. None of us speak. Words have long since failed. The chasm yawns wider. A fetid breath of air rises, carrying the scent of damp earth and rot. From that darkness comes a soft, sorrowful sigh, a child's lament etched with endless longing. I swallow bile and force my legs to move. I crouch at the edge and shine my light down. The walls descend into blackness, slick with moss and crawling with luminescent mold that pulses like veins. At the bottom, the little pool shimmers, its surface rippling though no drop falls. The faces beneath press at the underside of the stone, twisted mouths agape, silent screams frozen in time. A small hand, pale as moonlight, emerges from the water. It curls around the edge, pale fingers hooking. Then another. The girl, Camille, climbs into view, dripping wet, dress plastered to her slight frame. Her dark eyes lock on mine. She tilts her head and smiles that impossible smile, wide, hungry. The doll arm in her free hand drips moldy water. "You came back," she whispers, voice echoing like a half-remembered lullaby. My training screams to step back, to close the trap door, to call this in as a supernatural hazard. But I can't. Not yet. My boots sink in the shallow pool as I move forward. The faces beneath swirl, pressing up, reaching for me. I feel their cold longing, decades of sorrow and fear. I kneel, hand outstretched. "I'm here," I say, voice trembling. "I'm not leaving you." Camille's lips quiver. She lifts the doll arm and places it on the stone floor beside me. The mold seeps into the cracks, binding the wood to the stone. Then she leans forward and touches my badge. Officer Dana Hart. Her fingertips trace the letters. I shiver. The faces in the pool flatten, calm. The water stills. The mold's glow dims. Above us, the trapdoor snaps shut with finality. The organ in the sanctuary moans one last long chord. The echo travels down, melding with the drip of water. I realize the church has exhaled, released its secret. Lopez's voice crackles through the headset. Dana, you okay? I glance up. He and Patel stand at the shaft's mouth, weapons lowered. Nguyen crawls beside me, eyes wide. I touch Camille's hand. She's cold but not hostile, just lonely. We're okay, I say. She's alone down here. Patel steps down beside us. She glances at the pool, then at the faces beneath. What do we do? I stand, brushing mud from my uniform. We bring her up. My voice is firmer than I feel. I offer my hand. Camille takes it. Her grip is ice. Together, we climb the slick stones. The mold recedes from the walls as if bowing. At the top, the trapdoor creaks open. Moonlight floods the basement. Camille steps into the sanctuary, water cascading from her. The pews and altar are impossibly pristine, as if untouched for a century. She looks around, awed. I kneel and cup my hands. It's okay, I murmur. You're safe. Lopez and Patel guide Nguyen up the stairs behind us. The church door stands open, rain swirling in. Camille pauses at the threshold, turning back once. Her eyes meet mine. For a heartbeat, I think she'll vanish. But then she smiles and nods. She steps into the night's mist. I follow. The air is cold on my wet skin. Camille stops at the gravel drive and looks toward the woods. Then she dissolves into the fog. No footprints, no ripple. Just the faint echo of her laughter drifting on the wind. The cruiser's lights flash. Backup arrives, 2 more units, an ambulance. Officers herd Nguyen into the ambulance. Medics check him over. I stand beside the church, watching. The building seems peaceful now, its secret laid to rest. The mold is gone, the trapdoor sealed. Oak Ridge Road is silent. Dispatch calls. Unit 2. Status? I key the mic. Subject found, unaccompanied juvenile female, dehydration and hypothermia. Transporting to county hospital, church secure, over. Copy that. Dispatch replies. I kill the radio and exhale. Lopez approaches, placing a hand on my shoulder. You did it, he says softly. We did it, I correct. Patel joins us. What do we tell them? I look back at the church's stone facade, stained glass glowing softly in the dawn light. The truth, I say. Something happened here no one can explain, but she's safe now. That's what matters. Julian emerges, leaning on Lopez. He gives a shaky thumbs up. I nod. We pile into the cruisers. As we drive away, I glance in the rearview mirror. The church stands still, bathed in pale morning light. No sign of mold, no hint of the underground pool. Just a silent sentinel at the edge of town. But I know. Beneath its floor, the faces remain, restless, waiting. And sometimes when the wind is right, I still hear the soft whisper, Camille. I stare at the badge on my chest. I'm Officer Dana Hart. I answer to that name. I carry the memory of what I saw, what I felt. I will carry it always, because some calls never end. They echo in the dark, beneath stone and glass. They whisper in the static of a radio and the drip of water in a silent church. They call your name, and you have to go back again and again until the last voice is stilled. I glance forward as the sun breaks over the treetops. The mist lifts. The world feels brighter, safer. But I know the darkness never truly leaves. It waits, and when it calls, I will answer. I get out of my patrol car and the door slams behind me. The rain is getting heavier. Every drop hits the slate roof of St. Jude's like a hammer. I hold my hand over my flashlight, the other on my service weapon. No backup yet. Just me, the silence at 2:15 in the morning, and the silent emergency call echoing in my head. The stone facade of the church rises up, soaked through. Ivy clings to the mortar like skeletal fingers. I step onto the wet stone slabs, water collecting in the grooves. My boots squeak. I press the talk button. Central, this is Hart. I'm on site. No signs of forced entry. The door is unlocked. There's a crackle. It's cold inside. The beam of my flashlight pierces the darkness and illuminates rows of empty pews. Moonlight falls through the stained glass windows, bathing the stone floor in blue and red light. The smell of damp wood and old incense hangs in the air. I call out, "Is anyone here?" Church guard. I have an emergency call on the line. There is silence. Only the dripping of water from a leaky roof beam can be heard. I walk to the side aisle. Every step echoes. The hymnals on a pew rattle in the wind blowing through a broken window. The brass offering basket glitters. I swallow. Something about this place makes me feel like I'm being watched. A faint noise comes from the hallway. My heart skips a beat. I turn around and swing the flashlight. The noise came from the basement door. Gray metal, peeling paint. I press my shoulder against it, and it gives way with a creak. Cold air rushes out and smells of mold. I turn on my radio, dead. Nothing but static, of course. I put it away and push the door open wide. Stone steps lead down into the darkness. I count them in my head. 10, 20, my breath forming white clouds. At step 30, my boot hits concrete. The beam of light from the flashlight falls on a low hallway lined with filing cabinets and folding chairs. Dust flakes float in the air. The smell is even stronger here. Decay, mold, old paper. I look to the left, then to the right. Overturned chairs, open hymnals with yellowed pages. Muddy footprints lead further. I follow them. My pulse beats in time with a distant drip. I walk around a cabinet and freeze. In the circle of light cast by the beam, there is a single mud-encrusted child's shoe. No second one. Just this one, pointing to a walled-up niche. The bricks look new, the mortar is still crumbly. My training kicks in, evidence. I crouch down and examine the scratches on the stone, fresh. I knock, hollow. Someone has built a wall here to hide something. A soft scratching behind me. I spin around. Light cuts through the empty air. "Police!" I shout in a tense voice. No answer. I draw my gun, my finger on the trigger guard. I approach the niche. Every instinct tells me to back away, but I press my palm against the bricks. Cool, damp. I trace the outline of a small door with my fingers, barely visible. I push. The wall wobbles. A hidden bolt gives way. A panel swings inward on rusty hinges. Behind it, it's black. I look back at the stairs. No light, no help. I take a deep breath, raise my flashlight, and step through. I find myself in a tiny chamber, musty air, low ceiling. The beam of light falls on scribbled words. "Let me out. Don't leave me alone. They've forgotten me." Dates: 1952, 1968, 1984. The last scribble reads, April 10th, 2025. Yesterday. My skin tingles. Something moves in the darkness. I shine the light to the left. Nothing. To the right, an iron grate in the floor. Through the grate, I hear quiet sobbing. I kneel down. "Hello? Are you there?" The sobbing stops. Silence. I press my ear against the grate. A quiet voice whispers, "Officer." My radio crackles. "Hart, do you hear me?" Relief floods through me. "Speak," I whisper. Sergeant Kim's voice. "We have your location. We'll be there in 2 minutes. Are you safe?" I look at the grate. I found a chamber. There's someone down there, alive. I stand up and pry open the grate. Metal squeaks. I turn on the light. A tunnel leads downwards, smooth stone, puddles of water. The sobbing starts again, far away. I turn around. The hidden door closes behind me with a dull click. My heart stops. I draw my gun, I step into the tunnel. Water seeps through cracks and drips in time with my footsteps. Every step echoes. The beam of light reveals outlines. Old chairs, an overturned lectern, broken glass from a smashed lantern. I follow the sound, muffled sobbing, then a whispered, "Help." I turn a corner and freeze. A figure is crouched against the wall, a man in a soaked suit, his face buried in his arms. I approach slowly. "Sir?" "I'm Officer Hart. I found you." He looks up, empty eyes, pale. I recognize him. It's the night watchman from the church who was reported missing 2 nights ago. When I kneel down and offer him my hand, he tries to stand up. His arm jerks back. "They told me to stay," he croaks, "but they never came." His gaze darts past me. I follow his gaze, a shadow clinging to the wall, too large, too motionless. A low rumbling. The tunnel shifts. Dust falls from the ceiling. The security guard screams and rushes past me, sprinting deeper into the tunnel. I run after him, the flashlight swaying. The tunnel opens into a larger crypt. Coffins stand against the walls. Overturned chairs lie scattered around. Sobbing echoes from a pit in the middle. I shine my flashlight down. A woman's legs, dirty sneakers, are dangling down. I drop down onto the edge. It's a shaft. "Hold on tight," I shout, lowering the microphone of my radio. I drop my belt, hook it under the man's arms, and pull him up while he clings to the damp stones. He collapses next to me and shivers. Above us, a loose stone shifts. I look up, scratches on the ceiling. Long nails. My breath comes in gasps. I help the security guard to his feet. He points back to the shaft. "She's still down there, the girl." I swallow. "We have to get out of here." We head back toward the tunnel. We hear footsteps behind us. Not ours. Slow, deliberate. I turn around. The flashlight illuminates a shadowy figure in the darkness. Tall, gaunt, head bowed. No eyes, just a smooth face without features. My finger presses firmly on the trigger. The thing steps forward. Silently, the guard screams. I fire a warning shot. The bullet ricochets off the stone. The thing flinches and then disappears back into the shadows. The tunnel behind us begins to shake. Stones fall down. I grab the guard by the arm. "Run!" We run. Slippery floor, low ceiling. Water rushes past. The tunnel rises. Light appears. The paneled hatch in the basement. I kick it open. We stumble into the damp room. I slam the hatch shut. It echoes. The creature's knocking echoes above. I turn the padlock. The radio crackles. Units on site. Access secured. I exhale, my voice trembling. "Get this man medical attention and bring light." As they flood the basement with light, I glance back at the hidden niche. The bricks are sealed. No panel, no gap, just solid stone. My chest tightens. I haven't found a girl. No body. Just the echo of that creature in the darkness. They lead the security guard out. I stay behind, my heart still racing. I pick up the single sneaker I left there. The mud has dried and cracked. I put it in an evidence bag. Before I climb out, I whisper into the microphone. "Headquarters. Hart. There's something else down here. We need specialists, and ghosts don't count." Above, the church bell rings once, even though no one has pulled the rope. In the silence that follows, I realize that the noise in my radio isn't static. It's a voice. Quiet. "Officer, come back." I step into the stairwell and the door closes behind me. The panel in the alcove remains locked, but I know what's down there, and it knows I've found it. The patrol car's engine is idling, red taillights painting wet strips of asphalt on the road as I watch the church disappear into the fog. Behind me, the night watchman is led away under a blanket. shivering and muttering to himself. I slip back behind the wheel, my hands still shaking. The static on the radio whispers my name. Hart, come back. I slam the door shut. The dispatch center crackles. Unit 12, secure the crime scene. Detectives are on their way. I turn off the engine and sit there, my pulse racing. I shouldn't go back, but I will. At daybreak, St. Jude's is swarming with uniformed police officers, crime scene technicians, and even a chaplain with a black umbrella. I stand aside, my hoodie soaked, watching them rip out floorboards and pry at the bricked-up alcove. Specialists shine flashlights into the hidden chamber. They find nothing but dust, footprints, and the single sneaker I packed up. No sign of the girl, no sign of the thing. The detectives frown at the scribbles on the walls. Photos taken, evidence recorded, then wiped away. Canon law, historic preservation. No permission for burials. They attribute it to an urban legend, a hidden basement that someone sealed off decades ago. I walk around the building. The rain soaks my jacket. A neighbor comes out, a gray-haired woman in slippers. She stares at the church. "Officer," she says, "people used to talk about St. Jude's. They said the pastor locked something in the basement in 1968 when the school closed. The children never came back." I nod, my heart sinking. "Have you ever heard any noises?" She shrugs. "Just the wind, but this morning the bell rang by itself." I look up at the bell tower. Now it's silent. "Thanks, ma'am." She disappears into the fog. Back at the station, I unload the evidence. The sneaker, photos of the scribbled pleas, the circuit board from the radio. My partner Lopez raises an eyebrow. "You look terrible." I force a grin. "Did you enjoy the wake-up call?" He shakes his head. "The detectives want your statement. Are you sure you're up to it?" I hesitate. Part of me just wants to wash away this whole night. But I signed up to respond to calls. I'll go. In the interrogation room, I describe every detail. The silent call, the hidden door, the tunnel, the figure. I watch their faces, skeptical, fascinated. They file it as an unexplained disturbance and point to possible post-traumatic stress disorder. I leave with a queasy stomach. On the way out, I see my reflection in the glass. Dark circles under my eyes, lips pressed together. I feel like I'm being watched. That afternoon, I study the blueprints of St. Jude's, public records, archive photos. Nothing indicates a basement extension. The original plans from 1924 show only a basement under the nave, no tunnel. I run my finger over the lines. The niche where I found the paneling should not exist. The crypt shaft is not marked on any plan. Someone has secretly altered the basic structure of the church. My cell phone vibrates. A text message from headquarters. Audio log attached. I play back the recording of the silent emergency call. A faint, distorted lullaby can be heard beneath the static. I rewind. There, 3 soft knocks, like nails on wood, then nothing. My skin tingles, night falls. I lie on my camp bed at home, my eyes open. The recording plays over and over in my head. I dream of that thing in the tunnel. A faceless creature emerging from the darkness and exhaling white breath. At 3:17 a.m., I wake up, my heart pounding. The noise from the baby monitor in my apartment sounds like static on the radio. I throw back the covers and pace back and forth. My reflection in the window stares back at me with empty eyes. I decide I have to go back. At 11 p.m., I am alone in St. Jude's. The rain turns to fog. I slip past the police tape. No one sees me. I climb through the broken basement window I discovered earlier. Inside, the church smells of damp stone and old incense. I walk to the center aisle, kneel down, and press my palm against the floor where I felt the hidden bolt. My fingers find the seam. I push, and a panel clicks open. I drop into the chamber. With my flashlight on, I climb down into the tunnel. Water is dripping. The silence weighs on me. I call out, "Headquarters, this is Hart." I'm re-entering the tunnel. Silence. I turn off the radio. The tunnel forks in front of me, a passage I haven't explored yet. I take the left one, my heart pounding. The walls here are covered with more names and dates, children's names. Rosie Ames, Jonathan Pike, all crossed out. My stomach churns. A soft sob. I follow him to a low door made of half-rotten wood. I push it open with my shoulder. Behind it is a narrow chamber, no coffins, just a single desk, an oil lamp, and a pile of diaries in one corner. I leaf through the top volume. Entries from 1968, written by Reverend Caldwell in scrawled handwriting. He describes voices in the walls, crying children, a presence that demands sacrifices. The last entry, "I locked her away. May God forgive me." Below, it is a rough sketch, an eye carved in stone. My flashlight wobbles, I sense a presence behind me. I turn around, the room is empty, but the beam of light falls on something new. Footprints in the mud leading past the desk to a pit. I step forward, my heart pounding in my throat. The sobbing grows louder, the whimpering of a child. I shine the flashlight down. A small body is crouched in the darkness. I fall to my knees. "Hang in there," I whisper and reach for my radio. The body stirs, limp, pale. I grab its arm. It's ice cold. I lift it up and carry it up the steps. Once at the top, I slam the door shut. The tunnel rumbles. Dust falls down. I stagger out into the cemetery, the church towering in front of me. The body in my arms is not a child. It is a mannequin, dressed in a dirty dress, moth-eaten. My breath catches. I drop it. It shatters, revealing nothing but dirt and broken wires. A mocking echo of that sneaker, that whispered call. A soft voice behind me. "Officer?" I turn around. No one there. The gravestones lean. Fog swirls around my ankles. My radio crackles. "Hart? Are you okay?" I swallow. I found something. I stumble away. Back in my patrol car, I wash my face. The dashboard lights up in colorful patterns. Blue and red mix like stained glass. I realize the church isn't done with me yet. I look at the sketch from the diary on the passenger seat. A hand-drawn eye staring back at me. I stick it to the dashboard. Over the next few days, I drift back and forth between reality and nightmare. At work, I am polite and professional, but I flinch at every radio call. In my apartment, I wake up to disturbing noises and that lullaby. I dream of the hidden chamber, of walls that whisper names. I search the archives again and find a buried newspaper clipping. Reverend Caldwell disappeared in 1968 after allegations of child endangerment. No further investigation, no body. According to local lore, he went into the woods and never returned. That night, I return. This time, I bring a recording device, extra flashlights, and a camera. I climb through the window again. The panel opens. The tunnel greets me with damp cold. I follow the footprints, which are now fresher, to the niche where I found the diaries. The pit is gone, replaced by smooth stone. My recording device crackles. Voices under the floor. I drop to the ground and press the microphone against the bricks. "Speak," I whisper. The noise turns into children's laughter, echoing, distant, cheerful, and then into a scream. I jump back. The tunnel shakes. Water sprays from cracks above me. I run, following the wall and running my fingertips over the rough stone. The tunnel forks. One path glows phosphorescently. I follow it. Mold covers the walls in a sickly green and illuminates a chamber lined with miniature coffins, dozens of them, each no bigger than a shoebox. Names are engraved on the lids: Emily, Rosie, Jonathan, Caldwell. The beam of my flashlight flickers. I step closer. A coffin lid slowly opens. Inside lies a fragile, withered hand. I step back, my heart pounding in my throat. My recording device picks up a whisper. "Thank you for coming back." I drop the device. It clatters, picks up background noise, and then silence. I kick the wall. The bricks shift, revealing another glimpse of the main tunnel. I take one last look at the coffins and then run. With my boots splashing and panting, I climb the stairs and rush into the church basement, where uniformed officers stare in disbelief. I collapse against a wall. Lopez kneels beside me. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen God." I swallow. "Something like that." I point back to the paneling. "You have to seal this up and find out who Caldwell was and what he did." He nods, pale. While they close the panel again, I slip out into the foggy morning. The church stands still, but I know that the mold is still glowing. The coffins are waiting, and the voices have my number. I drive home and stick the recording on my wall as a reminder. At home, there's a crackling sound. I press play, a child's laughter, a whisper. "Officer Hart, come back." I turn off the device. My cell phone vibrates. An email from an unknown address. Subject: "We know you found it." No message, no text, just an attachment. A single photo of me asleep. The sketch from the diary on my nightstand, the sneaker next to it. I stare at it. The fog presses against my window. Somewhere in the darkness, a church bell rings once. I close my eyes, my heart pounding. I should leave it alone. I should walk away. But the thing in that tunnel, whatever it is, knows my name. And I will answer again. Shortly before midnight, I stop in front of St. Jude's Church. The light from the street lamps flickers in the fog. The headlights of my patrol car illuminate the silhouette of the church. Towering stones, broken slats in the bell tower. A single stained glass window glowing amber. I turn off the engine, my heart pounding. 2 nights ago, I found those tiny coffins, and last night I almost lost my mind in that tunnel. But I can't give up now. I go to the basement window I broke open earlier. It's warped, but gives way with a soft creak. I drop down inside, my boots splashing in yesterday's puddles. The radio in my pocket crackles once, then nothing but static, then nothing at all. I put it in my pocket. No distractions. I turn on my flashlight and go to the hidden panel. My fingers find the seam. I press, and it opens. The tunnel yawns beneath me. I climb down and count the steps. 32. Water drips. The phosphorescent mold from yesterday glows faintly at the other end. I follow it. The passage leads to the coffin chamber. Dozens of miniature coffins stand on stone shelves carved into the wall. Each lid bears a name. I step closer. The light flickers. Emily Cartwright, Rosie Ames, Jonathan Pike, and others. The last coffin reads Dana Hart. My name engraved in tiny letters. My breath catches in my throat. I crouch down and press against the coffin. The lid swings open. Inside lies a piece of fabric, a fragment of my uniform shirt. I pull it out. The mold seems to writhe. A whisper reaches me. "You came back." My pulse races. I slam the lid shut. I need proof. I pull a small camera out of my pocket and take photos. The names on the coffins, the mold-covered walls, the bars through which I heard the sobbing. The flash illuminates a niche I haven't explored yet. I walk toward it. Behind the wall of the niche, I find a narrow hatch in the floor, sealed with rusted bolts. Someone has gone to great lengths to hide this. I kneel down and jiggle one of the bolts. It gives way with a click. The hatch lifts up, revealing an almost vertical shaft that disappears into the darkness. Cold air rushes up. I shine my flashlight down, damp stone walls, dripping water, and at the very bottom, something is moving. A soft noise, then a scratching sound. I swallow. My radio crackles unexpectedly. "Hart? Can you hear me?" It's Lopez. Relief and fear collide. "I'm in the tunnel. I've discovered something new." I turn off the radio. I'm going down alone. I climb down hand over hand, my boots finding purchase in the steps carved into the stone. At the bottom, I land on a smooth floor. The beam of light illuminates a symbol carved into the wall, the same eye from Caldwell's diary. Below it are fresh footprints in the mud, made by an adult, leading deeper into the tunnel. I follow them. The passage narrows. The air hums. The beam of my flashlight flickers as the walls seem to pulsate. I turn a corner and enter a cathedral-like cave. Stone arches tower above me. Water collects at my feet, reflecting the sickly glow of mold. In the middle stands a stone altar, stained and cracked. Rusty chains hang from it. On the altar lies a child-sized coffin with the whole lid ajar. My stomach turns. I step forward and shine my light into the coffin. Inside lies a small, perfectly preserved skeleton. In its bony hand, it clutches a tiny silver cross. The skull is torn open, as if screaming. Tears well up in my eyes. This must be Emily, or one of the other children. A cold breeze blows through the chamber, even though there is no opening to be seen. I approach the altar. There are scratches on its base, hundreds of them, deep gouges in the stone. I run a finger over them and flinch. The symbol of the eye is repeated in a pattern around the altar. Reverend Caldwell must have built this, a sacrificial chamber. A voice, soft, throaty, singing in Latin, Utinam liberentur. May they be freed. The words echo. My heart is pounding. I turn around. No one is there. The coffin lid slams shut. I jump back. The light flickers. The chains rattle. I put my gun away, but my hand is shaking. I step toward the coffin. The bolt springs open again. Inside lies a piece of modern fabric, the sleeve of my jacket. My breath catches in my throat. Someone, or something, wants me to see this. I lift the lid completely, nothing but bones. I kneel down and place my hand on the skeleton. "I'm here," I whisper. The air grows colder. Suddenly, there is the sound of metal scraping against stone. Bolts are being hammered in above me. The hatch closes. I run back to the shaft and climb up as fast as I can. My flashlight falls, clattering to the ground, its beam dancing through the cave. I jump into the shaft, my boots scraping the walls. The hatch falls shut above me. Darkness. I feel for my radio. Static. Then Lopez's voice. "Hart? Are you there?" I tap the microphone. "Yes, I'm up here." The hatch fell shut behind me. I hear police officers hammering on the cellar door. They break it open. Light floods into the shaft. 2 hands reach down and pull me out. I cough. I'm soaked. My eyes are wild. They close the hidden hatch again. Detectives swarm into the basement, this time with ground-penetrating radar. They find the cave, a hollow space large enough for dozens of people. But they see no coffins, no altar, no mold. The radar shows empty space, only earth. They call it a collapsed tunnel, a 100-year-old drainage channel. My statement is recorded. They note mental stress and unexplained phenomena. My camera footage is damaged, just static and fleeting shadows. I stand outside in the fog and watch as they board up the basement window. The church sinks back into silence. The bell tower towers above me. I put my ruined uniform in an evidence bag. At home, I collapse on the sofa. My cell phone vibrates, a breaking news alert. St. Jude's is undergoing structural renovation. No mention of the hidden chambers. I close the app. Caldwell's diary lies on my desk, the fragment I smuggled out. I open the last page. They are asleep, but they are not dead. I have given them peace. I have given them darkness. I pray that no one finds this place. Beneath it is a stain of dried ink, like a fingerprint. I can feel them watching me. The voice from the tunnel in my dreams. Officer, come back. Tomorrow I will return. There are still unanswered questions, names that have not yet been crossed off. I owe them that much. Shortly after midnight, I slip through the broken window into the basement. The faint light from my flashlight dances across the damp stone walls. The air is thick with mold and something else, an undertone of decay that hurts my lungs. My boots splash through shallow puddles. I pause at the spot where the hidden panel blocks the tunnel entrance. I press my palm against the stone. It is colder than before, as if the wall itself can still feel my touch. I whisper into my microphone, which I turned off 2 nights ago, but it is still recording. This is Hart, I'm back. Only static answers me. I press against the slab. It gives way with a creak. The tunnel behind it yawns like a wound in the earth. I step through, my heart pounding. The sickly glow of mold leads me to the coffin chamber. I walk past a dozen miniature coffins, each with a name engraved on the lid. This time, I don't look inside. Instead, I walk past the niche where I found the diaries. The floor feels uneven here. I crouch down and carefully wipe away the mud. A small metal ring embedded in the stone catches my light. I pull on it. A trap door swings open, revealing a wooden ladder leading further down. Without hesitation, I climb down. The air grows colder, heavier. My breath fogs up. At the bottom, I find myself in a huge cave. Vaulted arches rise above me, carved out of the rock. Water drips from stalactites. The mold pulsates along the arches like veins. At the other end stands the stone altar, cracked and stained. The child-sized coffin is gone. In its place are fresh flowers, black and wilted. I step forward, all my instincts screaming. The flowers lie on a folded cloth, a patterned fabric that I recognize, the old altar cloth from the church. Someone has made an offering. Next to it lies a handwritten note on fragile parchment. We remember her. Free us. I put the note in my pocket. A soft rustling sound comes from the darkness behind the altar. I shine my flashlight on it. In the corner stands a figure, a young woman soaked, her eyes wide open. Her lips form a silent plea. I lower my flashlight. She comes closer, pale, emaciated, her features blurred. Save her, she whispers. Her voice echoes. He's coming back. I rush forward. She dissolves into mist. My flashlight flickers, then I notice movement behind the altar. The coffin lid slides open. I raise my gun. The lid falls down. Inside, wrapped in a dirty shroud, lies a small skeleton clutching a silver cross. I kneel down and lift the cross. The cave trembles, stones fall down. A voice echoes, "You are not free." The singing grows louder, ancient, sad. The glow of the mold intensifies, revealing carvings on the walls. Figures of children bound with chains of stone. Their faces are contorted with agony. My chest tightens. I realize that the mold is their life force, captured souls that feed its growth. I place the cross around my neck. I free you, I whisper. I touch the carvings. The mold recedes with a hiss. Cracks spread across the walls like cobwebs. A wind comes out of the tunnel and howls. The chains on the altar rattle. I step back as the skeleton slides out of the coffin, bones clattering, standing upright. It stands there, small and ragged. 2 hollow eyes stare at me. "Go," it croaks. "Find him." "Find who?" I look up at the vaulted ceiling. The eye symbol glistens in mold on a central arch. Beneath it, a dark crevice opens. A figure descends from it, tall, hooded, face hidden. The silhouette of Reverend Caldwell. He steps onto the floor of the cave, his boots clattering. "You shouldn't have come," he says in a deep voice. My gun trembles. "Why? What happened here?" He strides toward the altar. "I saved them from the world above. I gave them refuge. You disturbed their peace." His voice echoes like metal on stone. The skeletons of the children turn toward him and bow their heads. I swallow. "They don't belong here." He laughs, a dry, hollow sound. "Belong? They belong to me." He raises a hand. The mold swells and forms into winding shapes. Faces appear, ghostly children reaching for me. I stagger back. I reach for the cross. "By this symbol, I command you to release them." I step toward the carvings and press the cross against the stone. The horse recoils and screams. Caldwell lunges at me and grabs my arm. His touch is ice cold. "You insolent mortal!" I break free and run to the ladder. Behind me, Caldwell roars with rage. The cave shakes. Stalactites fall down. Water pours in from invisible cracks. I climb up, my boots slipping. The skeleton child stands at the entrance to the shaft and watches me. Its empty eye sockets, sad, encouraging. I pull myself up into the coffin chamber. The trapdoor closes behind me. I pound on it with my fists. The glow of the mold fades. The singing stops. Silence. I press my ear against the door. Nothing. I run through the tunnel, paying no attention to footprints or cameras. The hidden trapdoor appears. I squeeze through and collapse on the basement floor. My radio crackles. "Hart? Are you there?" It's Lopez. I gasp. "Get a team. Bring flashlights and a priest. We're not done yet." A few moments later, they arrive. 3 uniformed officers, 2 detectives, and a chaplain with a Bible in his hand. I lead them through the trapdoor. The tunnel lies silent and dark. I lead them to the coffin chamber. The tiny coffins lie untouched. The altar chamber has disappeared. Stone and earth have collapsed the shaft. Detective Morales kneels down and examines the flower stems. "They're decades old," she murmurs. The chaplain crosses himself. "This is a place of mourning. We can free them." He begins to read Psalm 23. His voice echoes. The mold on the miniature coffins flakes off. Powdery spores float through the air like ash. The coffins break apart, splintering and revealing only empty shells. I exhale. The weight lifts from me. The tunnel hums softly, almost like a sigh. The slab closes by itself. Silence returns to the basement. Outside, the rain has stopped. Moonlight breaks through the clouds. The church stands quietly. I sense the presence of the guardian. He is now safe. The children's voices have fallen silent. At dawn, I write my final report. They classify the site as structurally unsafe and plan a complete archaeological investigation. I ask that the diaries and the cross be allowed to remain with me. No one objects. That evening, I sit at home. The cross lies on my desk. The diary is open at Caldwell's last entry. "May the children find the light." Below it, someone has written a new line in my handwriting. "They are free." My radio crackles once. A soft ping, no static. I reply, "Tough here." Silence. Then a child's laughter, soft and cheerful. I smile, my chest feeling warm. The voices are peaceful. I close the diary. Tomorrow I will return the cross to the parish. St. Jude will rest. And I will rest too, knowing that I answered the call and didn't leave anyone behind this time. I turn off the lights of my patrol car and step onto the gravel lot. Fog swirls around the stone walls of St. Jude's, drifting like pale ghosts through broken windows. It's 1:47 a.m. My gun feels heavy on my hip. The beam of my flashlight traces a shaky path across the wet ground. I press the button on the radio. Heart to dispatch, returning to the fourth beat. All clear in the area. There's a crackle, then silence. I slip through the basement window again. The stuffy air squeezes my lungs. Without hesitation, I go to the hidden hatch, push it open, and climb down into the tunnel. Water drips at irregular intervals, echoing off the stone walls. The faint glow of mold guides me past the coffin chamber and the collapsed shaft. The air tastes of iron and age. At the fork, I take the right-hand passage, which is unexplored so far. The corridor slopes more steeply here, the walls are smooth. Footprints, my own and those of others, are visible in the mud. I follow them into a narrow antechamber. Here, mold covers reliefs. Scenes of worship distorted into nightmares. Children kneeling before a veiled figure whose face is hidden and whose hands are raised in a gesture of blessing or threat. Their mouths are open in silent screams. I get goosebumps. I raise my camera to photograph the carvings. The flash illuminates the scene. Every distorted face, every pleading child. In the moment of light, I see a movement behind me. I turn around, nothing. But the beam of light falls on fresh scratches on the stone floor. 4 digits, like a count. 4. Someone has been here since my last visit. My heart is pounding. I step deeper into the antechamber and discover a door carved into the rock. A heavy stone slab framed with iron bands. No handle. Strange symbols are burned into the surface. I press my palm against the center. I feel warmth under my glove. The slab gives way, revealing a pitch-black room. I hesitate for only a second before entering. The slab slides shut behind me with a dull thud. The light from my flashlight falls on a circle of chairs, antique wooden benches arranged around a shallow pit. In the middle of the pit lies a tarnished baptismal font, a dented and cracked iron basin. Dried stains are visible on its rim. I circle the basin. Dust covers the floor. On the edge of the basin, in what looks like old wax residue, is written, "He comes at the 4th stroke of the bell." My pulse races. I look at my watch, 1:52 a.m. The bell in the church tower should strike at 2 a.m. I go back to the door. It's locked. My breath catches in my throat. The baptismal font trembles. Water sloshes inside it, even though it's bone dry. A low rumbling echoes through the room. I draw my gun. Suddenly, the baptismal font bursts open like an egg. A pale figure crawls out, no bigger than a toddler, all limbs outstretched. It hisses, its eyes black holes. The chairs creak as if moved by an invisible force. The creature glides out and falls to the floor with a disgusting sound. It floats and sways. I fire once. An echo reverberates. The bullet ricochets off the stone. The creature screams. A high-pitched, shrill scream that makes my teeth chatter. It shoots toward me, trailing slime behind it. I step back onto a chair, my heart pounding. It lunges at me. I fire again. The flash of lightning illuminates its gaunt form. It dissolves into particles of mold and mist and swirls toward the baptismal font. The pit of the baptismal font yawns, ready to swallow the light. The chamber trembles. I jump aside as the floor breaks, and the baptismal font plunges into darkness. A rushing sound, then silence. The panel door opens with a squeak. I stumble into the tunnel, my heart pounding. The panel of the antechamber slides shut behind me. I press my ear against it. Nothing. The glow of the mold fades to a gentle pulsing. I run back to the hidden panel. My boots splash through the coffin chamber. The miniature coffins lie untouched. The collapsed shaft remains closed. I emerge from the cellar, gasping for breath. Lopez and 2 officers are waiting with serious expressions. "Everything okay?" he asks. I nod hoarsely. It's done. I pack up the camera. The photo of the carvings is burned into my memory. We seal the hidden hatch for good. I watch as the concrete is poured and fills the tunnel entrance. The glow from the mold fades. The static on my radio disappears. Outside, the fog is clearing. Moonlight glitters on the rain-wet stones. I turn to leave, but pause. The church bell rings once. No hand on the rope. A single, sad toll. I grab the door frame and press my jaws together. The radio crackles. "Hart, are you still there?" I reply, "Unit 12 here." The situation is secure. I walk into the fog. In my pocket, I have the fragment of the baptismal font that I took with me, with the warning engraved on it. The church disappears behind me. When I reach my patrol car, I look back. The stained glass window glows amber. For a moment, I see the face of a child pressed against the window, watching me. Then it's gone. I start the engine. A faint "thank you" comes from the radio. I drive off, the headlights cutting through the fog. The road home winds ahead of me. In the rearview mirror, St. Jude stands still, his secrets safe for now. I turn off the patrol car's engine and step onto the wet asphalt. The fog has thinned to a pale haze, and the silhouette of the church stands still behind me, its secrets buried beneath concrete and memories. My boots splash through puddles as I walk to the side door. Every muscle aches. Adrenaline and exhaustion mingle, but I can't rest. Not yet. Inside, the basement is empty and silent. The concrete reinforcement above the paneling glistens where fresh mortar seals the opening of the tunnel. I press my palm against the wall. Cold, solid, permanent, presumably. I run my fingertips along the seam and think of the final collapse of the baptismal font, the creature's scream, the retreat of the mold. I whisper, "It's over." But the silence that answers me feels meaningful, expectant. I climb the stairs to the main floor. The nave is deserted. Moonlight falls through the stained glass windows and paints ghostly patterns on the stone. I walk down the center aisle. Each step echoes like a warning. On the altar, the Bible lies open on a velvet cushion. I kneel down and wipe the dust from the pages. The text is Matthew 18:3. "Unless you repent and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven." My throat tightens. The children down there, lost, trapped, needed innocence to be freed. I wonder if I did enough. I go back outside. The cemetery behind the church fence is overgrown. Crooked gravestones, monuments covered with ivy. I slip between the graves toward the bell tower. The door is ajar. Inside, the rope for the bell hangs motionless. I pull it once. The bell groans, a soft ringing that vibrates through my chest. Twice more, and the tower shakes. I pause. The last toll echoes across the fields. 3, not 4. The warning was to ring 4 times. I step back as the rope comes to rest. My heart is pounding. Below me, in the cemetery, the fog swirls and drifts. I peer through the misty air. Something moves. A small figure at the fence line, the silhouette of a child. I raise my flashlight. The figure has disappeared. In its place lies a single flower on a grave. Black petals, dark as obsidian. I recognize its shape, like the one in the altar chamber. I step forward. The gravestone reads Emily Cartwright, died 1952. Someone has carved another name underneath. Dana Hart. My stomach churns. I press my palm against the stone. It is warm. The fresh engraving throbs beneath my fingertips. My name, like an invitation or a summons. I pull my hand away, my heart racing. Behind me, the bell tower begins to toll. 4 o'clock. The sound echoes off the gravestones. The ground vibrates. I turn around. A wind picks up and swirls the fog around me into a funnel. The air is filled with distant laughter, children's laughter, soft and sad. I stumble backward, the beam of my flashlight dancing. The laughter stops. Silence. Then a whisper. "Thank you." It comes from Emily's grave, from all directions. I swallow. "You're free," I say aloud. "Go in peace." The petals of the flower tremble and scatter in the wind. The fog dissipates. The black flower remains behind, a single blossom glowing in the moonlight. I carefully place it in my pocket. The light of dawn breaks over the horizon. I walk back to my patrol car, my mind racing. The mortar on the paneling is cracked, a hairline fissure. The entrance to the tunnel may be sealed, but the church is breathing. Its heart is still beating beneath the stone. At the station, I ask for time off. I need time to process this, to recover. Captain Reyes raises an eyebrow but gives her approval. "Just be careful," she says. I nod, too tired to argue. That evening, I sit in my apartment. The black flower lies in a glass on my desk. Caldwell's diary lies open next to it. I study the last few pages and trace the eye symbol. I make notes, dates, names, passages. I lay the church blueprints over Caldwell's sketches. Patterns emerge. Alignments with the faces of the moon, ley lines beneath the city, the fourth chime marking a cycle. I realize that the seal was only temporary. The tunnel has shifted. The mold is receding, only to grow back again. The coffins, the carvings, the baptismal font, they were nodes in a network that fed on grief. I disturbed it, but I didn't destroy it. My radio crackles. Lopez. "Hart, everything okay? I heard you took the day off." I force a laugh. "Yes, just paperwork." He hesitates. "We found something in the basement. Old documents. The diocese finally released the archives. They mention a children's home that was affiliated with St. Jude's and closed in 1952 after a fire. Officially, there were no casualties, but locals whisper of dozens of dead children." I hold my breath. "Are there any names listed?" He reads aloud. "Emily Cartwright, Rosie Ames, Jonathan Pike, and dozens more. Then, Reverend Caldwell's name listed as guardian." He pauses. Actually, supervisor, Caldwell was in charge of the orphanage. They called him a saint. No one knew about the crypt. I close the diary. I'll be there tomorrow. That night, I dream about the tunnel. The mold pulsates like a heart. The coffins float in the water. Caldwell stands at the altar, his arms outstretched. Behind him, children's faces form on the walls, their mouths opening in silent screams. I wake up, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding. I reach for the black flower. It is wilted, the petals curled up. I press it to my nose, no scent. I tuck it into a book. Morning light streams through the blinds. I drive to the diocese archives, a brick building behind wrought iron gates. Inside, I meet Father Donovan, the archivist. He leads me to dusty ledgers. I leaf through entries from 1952, admission records, crossed-out death certificates, notes from Caldwell. Protected, don't forget, never talk about it. I photograph every page. Father Donovan watches me anxiously. No one dared question him. He was revered. I nod. Until now. Back in my patrol car, I lay the names from the ledger over my map. The graves, the inscriptions, the porch. They all form a pattern with the bell tower at its center. The fourth chime closes the circle. I stare at the screen, a pentagonal formation around the church. Each point is a grave. I drive to the first point, a neglected corner of the cemetery. The gravestone is missing. The ground is soft. I kneel down and sweep the leaves aside. Fresh mold glistens in the earth, mold and midnight black petals. I dig with my hands. My fingers hit wood, a coffin lid. I pick it up. Inside lies the skeleton of a child clutching a silver cross. I swallow, my gloved hand trembling, and lift the tiny skeleton into an evidence bag. I move on to the next spot. At each one, I dig up another coffin. Dusty bones, crosses, black petals, mold residue. 6 in total. At the last spot, near the old school, I find nothing but dirt. I sink to my knees. The pattern demands a 6th. The missing intersection. I look up at the abandoned school. The windows are broken, the walls covered with ivy. The door is open. I stand there, my determination growing. According to the orphanage records, Caldwell sealed an extension under the school, another crypt. The children were taken there. I have to finish this. I pull out my gun and flashlight. I step over the threshold of the school. The floorboards creak. Written in chalk are the words, "They learn, they play, they sleep." I follow the words to a trapdoor under the stage. It is locked with a padlock. I rip it open. The hatch falls onto a ladder leading into the darkness. The beam of my flashlight falls on rows of tiny coffins, dozens of them this time, standing on stone shelves. The mold glows brighter here. I step inside, my heart pounding. Bones rattle as I move. I kick the coffins. They tip over and break. The mold flares up, then collapses. The darkness recedes. A breeze blows through the room, fresh, clean. At the other end, a figure kneels. A child's skeleton in tattered clothes. It looks up, hollow eye sockets full of light. It smiles. I kneel down and place my hand on its tiny palm. "You are free." It rises, raises an arm in farewell, then dissolves into white points of light. The mold is gone. The coffin chamber is empty. I climb back up to the schoolhouse. Sunlight streams through broken windows. Dust particles float in the air. The trapdoor closes behind me. I lock it. Weeks later, St. Jude's stands peacefully. The basement wall is sealed, the school crypt abandoned. No mold, no coffins, no voices. I visit the cemetery. No black flowers, no fresh gravestones. Emily's gravestone glows in the morning light. I lay down a bouquet of white lilies. I whisper, "Rest in peace." At home, the diary and the cross lie in a box. I close the lid. I feel a weight lift from my chest. For the first time since that silent emergency call, I breathe freely again. My radio crackles. Heart, new call, social control at the old Miller house. I answer in a firm voice, "On my way." I get into my patrol car. As I drive off, I glance in the rearview mirror. The steeple of St. Jude's disappears into the blue sky. No fog, no shadows, just stone and stained glass, finally peace. I turn off the engine and step onto the dewy grass next to the old Miller house. The moon has disappeared behind the clouds. Only a soft rustling in the wind stirs the tall grass. My boots sink slightly into the soft earth. I press the talk button. Heart to dispatch. I'm at the Miller house, social checkup in progress. There is static, then a quiet confirmation. I turn off the radio. I don't want any company down here. The Miller house stands dark, the boarded-up windows staring like empty eye sockets. The neighbors say old Mrs. Miller died months ago. No one has lived here since. Yet someone called 911. Silence again. My chest tightens. I step onto the porch. the wood creaks. The front door hangs crookedly on its hinges. I pull out my flashlight and my gun. All my instincts are on high alert. Inside, the air is stuffy. The smell of old perfume, mold, and decay. My beam of light falls on peeling floral wallpaper. A child's drawing pinned up with a rotten nail. Stick figures under a sun. One figure much larger and looming menacingly. I swallow. I walk through the living room into a narrow hallway. The doors are closed. I try the first one. Locked. The second, ajar. I push it open. A child's bedroom. An overturned crib. A damp mattress. Toys are scattered everywhere. A wooden train set. A porcelain doll with one eye missing. I shine my flashlight on scribbles on the wall written in charcoal. Come play with us. Below them are tiny handprints, smeared gray. My pulse races. I step back. The door slams shut. I turn around with my gun raised. The children's room is empty. The handprints stare at me. I search the hallway. At the end, a staircase leads down into the darkness. A basement. The call probably came from down there. I climb down, counting every step. Down below, the stone walls are damp and water is collecting. My flashlight illuminates old boxes and broken shelves. In the far corner, muddy footprints lead to a crawl space, the opening just big enough to squeeze through. I crouch down and follow them. The crawl space opens into a narrow tunnel. Freshly dug earth beneath the foundation. Roots hang from the ceiling. The smell is pungent. Earth, decay, something rotten. My boots crunch on broken bricks. The tunnel leads down. I continue, my heart beating loudly. In front of me, I see pale mold on stone. The same phosphorescent glow as in St. Jude's. It covers the walls and pulsates gently. I step closer. The mold forms shapes. Children's faces. Their mouths open in silent laughter. I swallow and continue on. The tunnel makes a sharp turn and opens into a chamber carved out of the earth. This chamber is smaller than the caves in the church. Rough walls, low ceiling. On the center is a circle of children's shoes, sandals, sneakers, Mary Janes, all caked with mud. In the middle lies a single object, a battered police badge with the inscription, Heart. My badge. I step forward, my heart pounding in my throat. I kneel down and pick it up. The badge is bent and scratched, as if it had been dragged through the dirt. I put it in my pocket. The mold glows brighter and brighter. A soft whisper echoes from the walls. Officer Hart, play with us. I stand up and draw my gun. The circle of shoes begins to move. It slides outward and grows larger and larger. I step back. A small door in the wall creaks open. Behind it, a narrow strip of darkness is visible. I approach it. The mold retreats from the door frame. I shine my flashlight inside. Another tunnel, narrower and sloping further down. The whispering grows louder, excited, impatient. I clench my pistol and step inside. The tunnel opens into a huge cave, its ceiling disappearing into the darkness. Stalactites drip. The mold covers every surface and pulsates like a living organism. At the other end, dozens of tiny coffins stand on shelves, more than before. Each one bears a name, many of them unknown. Children from the area who have disappeared over the decades. In the middle stands a tall stone figure, the body of a child with outstretched arms. Its face is expressionless. My flashlight falls on an inscription on its base. Those who forget the children become children themselves. A chill runs down my spine. I step closer. The empty face of the figure seems to turn toward me. The mold pulsates faster. My heartbeat quickens. I raise my camera and take photos. The flash reveals movement behind the coffins. Pale figures scurry back and forth. I hear giggling, childlike, echoing. I step forward and say in a firm voice, I remember you. The glow of the figure flickers. The carved arms of the child seem to lower. The giggling stops. Then a single, clear voice rings out, "Thank you." It echoes through the chamber. The pulse of the figure slows. Suddenly, the floor shakes. The coffins rattle. The relief carvings break apart. Fragments of stone clatter. The layer of mold recedes and curls away from the broken statue. A gust of wind sweeps through the hollow space, carrying whispers of gratitude with it. The pale figures merge into particles of light and float toward the broken statue, where they disappear into its hollow interior. The layer of mold fades to damp stone. I stand there stunned. The giggling has stopped. There is absolute silence. The coffins lie open, empty. The tunnel behind them is quiet. I put my camera away. I step back into the smaller chamber with the shoes. The circle has been broken. The shoes lie scattered around. I pick up a single pair, worn-out Mary Janes for children, and leave the rest behind. I retrace my steps through the crawl space, the pantry, and the children's room. The graffiti on the walls has disappeared. The wallpaper is bare. The doll lies there unharmed, its eye restored. I put the Mary Janes in my pocket as evidence. Upstairs, the house is quiet. I walk out the front door. The morning sky is pale. In the patrol car, I examine the shoes. In one of them, I find a small folded piece of paper. "We are free." I unfold it. No further writing, just blank paper. I hold it up to the light. For a moment, I think I hear soft laughter in the wind, then nothing. Back at the station, I file the report. Silent emergency call from the abandoned Miller house. No living residents found. Evidence of a tunnel under the house. Shoes and ID secured. Photos cataloged. Recommendation: demolish and seal the building. I attach the note. My sergeant glances at it. "Kids' shoes?" he asks. I nod. Let's hope they're at peace now. That afternoon, I visit St. Jude Cemetery. I kneel in front of Emily Cartwright's grave. I place the Mary Janes next to her headstone. "For you," I whisper. A breeze blows. The black flower has wilted. I remove it. The lilies I placed there days ago are still fresh. I stand up and walk along the rows. No sign of mold, no whispering. The sun breaks through the clouds. I feel lighter. The weight has been lifted from me. At home, I put the diary, the badge, the shoes, and the note in a box labeled closed cases. I lock it. I lean back. My radio crackles. Heart. Another silent call, this time from the old mill. I stare at the box. I reach for my keys. I pause. Then I put the box on the shelf. I answer over the radio. "Heart here. Send Unit 12. I'm on my way." The light of dawn filters faintly through the broken boards of the Miller house windows as I go downstairs one last time. Each step is harder than the last, as if the walls are closing in on me. The tunnel under this house, once a refuge for lost things, now lies silent. All I have is my flashlight, my service pistol, and the worn Mary Janes I left at Emily's grave. At the end of the hallway, the hatch I broke open 2 nights ago yawns before me. I pause, my hand on the cold metal bar. It is completely silent. I climb down into the root cellar, my boots splashing in the shallow water. The phosphorescent glow of the mold has disappeared. Only bare stone remains. I feel my way along the wall to the entrance of the crawl space. It gives way slightly. I slide into the narrow earthen tunnel. I follow the curve to the hidden cave. At the entrance, I almost expect to see coffins or shoes, but the chamber is empty. The stone shelves are bare. The relief of the child protector lies broken on the floor, the shards scattered like fallen teeth. I kneel down and touch a piece of stone. It crumbles between my fingers. The air is still, no whispers, no movement. I stand up and walk to the center where the statue once stood. The earth is churned up, a shallow grave hastily dug and filled in again. My flashlight falls on a half-buried object, a small wooden box covered with rusty metal. I lift it out. The lid springs open with a creak. Inside is a single object, my police badge, back in pristine condition. The bent, scratched badge I thought was lost now shines. Beneath it, a message is carved into the wood in scrawled handwriting. All who remember are free. I close the box and put it in my jacket. As I turn to leave, a soft scratching sound draws my attention to the wall opposite. There, faintly carved into the stone, is the eye symbol. Freshly carved, dark against the light rock. Beneath it is a new name, Miller. The earth beneath the letters moves, and a tiny handprint, made by an adult, briefly presses into the dirt and then disappears again. My heart is pounding. I take a photo. The flash illuminates the tunnel. Behind me, footprints lead back to the crawl space and end at the entrance. Someone, or something, was standing there watching me. I swallow hard and step forward. The tunnel exit closes silently, as if someone had pushed it shut. I hurry back through the crawl space, the vegetable cellar, and the children's room. Every room seems empty, deserted. The scribbles on the wall have disappeared. The doll sits peacefully in its corner. I climb the front steps into the pale morning. The Miller house stands still. Boarded up, abandoned, its secrets revealed. I retrieve the wooden box from my patrol car and examine it in the light of the dashboard. The badge inside feels heavy, heavier than metal. I attach it back to my uniform. The phrase, "All who remember are free," echoes in my head. I realize what the last connection between this world and the hidden realm is: memory. By remembering every lost child, by giving them names, honoring them, I have broken the power that the form in the crypt held. My radio crackles. "Heart? Status?" I reply in a firm voice. "All clear." Secure the location. I drive off and see the Miller house disappear in my rearview mirror. The morning fog envelops it like a farewell sigh. Over the next few days, I write my final report. The diocese declares the crypt under St. Jude's unfit for use. The city has the Miller house torn down. Archaeologists find only dirt and broken stones. No mold, no coffins, no hidden chambers. In my evidence box are the fragment of the badge, the Mary Janes, the wooden box, and the note. I lock it away. At home, I place the box on a high shelf. The badge glints in the light of the ceiling lamp. Caldwell's diary lies closed on my desk. I slide the last photo next to it, the eye symbol carved into the tunnel wall. I run my finger over the lines. That night, I sleep without dreams. For the first time in weeks, I wake up in silence. No static whispering of my name, no distant bells, no children's laughter in the darkness. I get dressed, pin on my badge, and step out into a clear morning. Lopez meets me at the station. "You look rested," he says. I nod. It feels like it's finally over. He glances at my badge. "Are you sure you want it back?" I tap it. I earned it. Later, I stop at St. Jude Cemetery. Emily's gravestone stands in the sun. The Mary Janes I left there lie neatly next to fresh lilies. I place a hand on the stone. "Rest in peace," I whisper. A breeze stirs the petals. I turn around, my heart calm. As I drive back to the station, my radio crackles once. A routine call. I answer and drive to the next job. Behind me, at the edge of the forest, fog shimmers where the church tower once cast its shadow. But there is no mold seeping out. There are no whispers. The children are free, and I carry their names with me, in my memory, in stories, in the weight of this badge. always ready to answer the next silent call, but never again afraid of what I might find in the darkness. I pulled my rain-soaked coat tighter around me as I got out of the patrol car and stepped into the shallow puddle next to the side entrance of the church. The wind whipped raindrops against the lens of my flashlight, turning every beam of light into a blurry gray glow. My heart beat in the familiar rhythm of a night shift. Slow adrenaline, heightened senses, because I knew that somewhere in this old stone building, someone, or something, was calling for help. I turned off the radio. Headquarters knew I was inside. No backup yet, just me and the hollow echo of my boots on the wet stone. The door creaked open and damp air poured out. I slipped inside, gun at the ready, and made my way through the darkness with my flashlight. On both sides, pews rose like gravestones. The stained glass windows cast muted colors on the stone floor. I breathed in the smell of mold and old incense. Somewhere behind me, a wooden door slammed shut. I spun around, the light flickering through the vestibule. Empty. "Officer Hart," I said into the silence. "Stillwater County. Anyone here come in?" There was no answer, but my stomach tightened. I pushed my way along the center aisle, each step stirring up dust particles in the beam of light. On the altar lay an open Bible with damp pages. I leafed through it. Psalm 23, half-smudged footprints on the text. I took a photo with my body camera and then shone my flashlight at the sacristy door. There was a narrow strip of shadow underneath, darker than the rest. I slipped through. The room behind it was small, the walls lined with tarnished silver chalices and worn hymnals. A side door led downstairs. I paused and ran my thumb over the peeling wood of the door. The temperature dropped, moisture forming in my breath. "Head office, Hart. I'm going to the first basement. No signs of forced entry behind the main door." There was a crackle on the line, and I imagined the bored sigh of the dispatcher. A typical night. The stairs spiraled down into the damp darkness. My boot heels clicked on the stone steps, slippery with condensation. Downstairs, the beam of light illuminated a corridor. Low ceiling, roughly hewn walls, old, crumbling mortar. Old wooden chairs were stacked against the left wall, hymnals scattered like fallen soldiers. To the right, a narrow staircase led further down. According to some records, the original building had a forgotten crypt. I radioed, "Possible basement." "I'm going down." No answer. Good. I didn't want company if something went wrong. I took the lower steps 2 at a time. The air became musty, earthy, fermented. The flashlight fell on a rust stain on the wall. Old blood. I swallowed. My professional instinct kicked in, document first, feel later. I followed the stain with my eyes. It led to a heavy door with iron reinforcements. The bolt was loose. I opened it carefully. The room was larger than I had expected. The ceiling was vaulted, and dim light fell through a single barred window high above. Stone pillars rose up like ribs. In the middle stood overturned chairs and a knocked-over lectern. My light fell on symbols carved into the floor, circles and runes I couldn't identify. The shapes were burned into the stone, the edges still dark. My pulse quickened. A ritual? Vandalism? I stepped closer and scratched the edge of a rune with my boot. A soft hum vibrated through the floor. Behind me, I heard footsteps, soft, shuffling footsteps. I turned around with my weapon drawn. The beam of light swept across the room. Nothing. I stepped back and the humming grew louder, as if the floor itself was resonating. I crouched down and examined the symbols. The burn marks formed a pattern, a broken cross in the middle. Guilt overwhelmed me. A desecration. I tapped the floor with the handle of my flashlight. The humming faltered and fell silent. Then I heard a whisper. A child's voice, soft and pleading. "Help me." It came from the far corner. I pointed my flashlight there. A small door, half hidden behind a pillar, was ajar. The whisper grew louder. "Please." I radioed. "Head office, basement. I've got something down here. Reinforcements, please." No answer. I turned off the microphone. Protocol required me to wait for backup, but 12 seconds later, the whispering turned into sobbing. I didn't hesitate. I stepped through the door. It led into a narrow tunnel with damp earth beneath my feet. Water dripped from the beams above me. The beam of light flickered over a small figure crouching at the end. A woman with her knees drawn up and her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her clothes looked medieval. Dark robes soaked with mud. She didn't look up. I approached slowly. "Ma'am, this is the police. Are you hurt?" Her shoulders trembled. When she finally raised her head, her eyes were black holes. There was no white to be seen. My training screamed chemical poisoning, or extreme hypoxia, but something deeper registered, that something was wrong. I knelt down, my gun lowered but ready. "I'm Officer Hart. I'm here to help you." Her lips parted. "They won't let me go," she whispered. "They say I belong here." I shone my flashlight around. The tunnel walls were covered with names scratched into the wet stone. Margaret Ellis, 1892, Thomas Crowley, 1910, Sarah Benton, 1935, and at the very bottom, fresh, Emily Shaw, 2025. My heart was pounding. I stood up and looked at my watch, 2:27 a.m. The church warden had been reported missing. She was 22 and from the area. Emily. Suddenly, there was a loud bang behind me. The door I had come through had closed. I ran back, but it wouldn't open. I cursed and rammed it with my shoulder. The tunnel stretched on, swallowing the beam of my flashlight. I heard the woman crying behind me, now laughing softly. I glanced back. She was gone. My radio crackled. "Hart? Are you there?" I was relieved. "Headquarters. Yes, I'm in a tunnel under the church. I have..." The noise drowned out the rest. The voice came back, far away. "Reinforcements in 5 to 8 minutes. 5 or 8? It didn't matter. I had to keep going. I pushed open the door and sprinted back into the chamber. The fire circle on the floor glowed faintly, embers lying at the edges of the runes. The lectern lay broken as if it had been thrown. I searched the room. No exit except the stairs leading upstairs. I climbed the stairs, each step clattering like a coffin lid. At the top of the lower basement, I stopped. The hallway was empty. I radioed, "I'm going upstairs. I have a possible victim and evidence of a ritual murder." My light fell on a movement at the end of the corridor, a black, hunched figure. I shouted, "Police, don't move!" The figure disappeared into the darkness. I ran after it, my heart pounding in my throat, down the hallway, around a corner, and came to a stop at a bare stone wall. No door. The figure was gone. A soft noise behind me. I turned around. My flashlight fell onto a dusty folding chair that hadn't been there before. I stepped back. The chair moved toward me as if pushed by invisible hands. I was breathing heavily. I put my gun away and fumbled for my radio. "Headquarters. Urgent. I need backup with lights and paramedics, immediately." Lightning flashed through the basement window, illuminating the chair. In the flash, I saw a figure behind it, tall, thin, with its head bowed. When the thunder faded, it was gone. Only the chair remained. I climbed 2 steps at a time up the stairs and rushed into the nave. Rain pounded on the sea roof. I picked up the young caretaker, Emily, who was trembling with her eyes wide open. "You're safe," I said, though I wasn't sure if that was true. She clung to me as I half carried, half escorted her outside. The church door slammed behind me as if it had been kicked. I sat her down on the steps. Behind us, red and blue lights bathed the stones in surreal colors. I turned around. In the upper window, I saw the silhouette of Reverend Collins. His shoulders hunched, his face hidden. He slowly raised his hand in greeting. Then he stepped back into the darkness. At 3:02 a.m., I wrote my report. You will note that a confused janitor was found suffering from mild hypothermia and showing no signs of foul play other than trespassing on private property. The burn marks will be recorded as vandalism, but I know what I saw. Ritual runes that still glow in my memory. A tunnel of names that carries centuries of suffering. A woman who should not exist in this time, and a pastor who faces the storm with a silent promise. Tonight, the church stands silent in the rain. But tomorrow, I will drive by again, and I will know that the stones remember, and that beneath them waits something older than faith, darker than sin, calling for the next emergency call. I pressed my shoulder against the heavy wooden door, which gave way with a creak and swung inward to reveal the narrow staircase leading to the basement. Rainwater dripped through a crack in the stone wall and pooled around my boots. Emily, still trembling, clung to my belt and glanced nervously into every corner. I turned on my flashlight and climbed down, every instinct telling me that whatever was waiting for us down there wasn't done with us yet. The deeper we descended, the colder the air became. My breath steamed in front of me. The slippery steps ended at a lower landing. A long corridor stretched out before us, its walls lined with engraved names. I shone my flashlight on fresh scratches next to Emily Shaw, 2025. Below, it was another name. Dana Hart, 2025. My heart skipped a beat. Someone, or something, had marked me as next. Emily whimpered, "Officer, please." I swallowed and forced myself to speak calmly. "Stay close to me, keep the light on me." She nodded and raised her small LED flashlight. Together we crept forward. Every step echoed. The symbols on the floor were faintly burned, but here the stone was cold and bare, except for footprints in the dust. 2 pairs, mine and hers, and a third, smaller one that crisscrossed between them. We came to an iron-studded door. It was ajar. Behind it lay complete darkness. I radioed headquarters. "Hart, bring the civilian back to the main level. Stay on channel." No answer. The noise felt like a wall. I took a deep breath and stepped through, Emily at my side. The tunnel ran straight and became narrower and narrower until I had to bow my head. Water dripped from invisible cracks. My light flickered over damp earth and broken stones. Then I saw it. A small child's shoe, covered in mud, lying on its side. Next to it was the rosary I had seen in the chamber, stretched across the floor like a trap. Emily gasped. I took a photo. "We're almost there," I lied. I had no idea where there was. Halfway along, the tunnel opened into a low alcove. The walls here were decorated with murals, faded images of weeping angels and saints with hollow eyes. Something was scribbled over them in charcoal. "You will remember." The words pulsed in the beam of light as if they had just been written. My radio crackled. A voice emerged clearly from the static. "Officer Hart." She whispered my name, drawing out each syllable. Emily screamed and dropped her flashlight. The darkness engulfed her. I fumbled for my flashlight, my heart pounding. When I turned it back on, Emily was standing a few feet away, staring at the opposite wall. I rushed over to her. "We have to get out of here now." She pointed at something. The beam of light fell on a low hatch in the floor. a heavy iron ring. I knelt down and lifted it. A wave of foul-smelling air rose and carried the same whispering voice with it. "Stay!" I hit the ring again. The hatch swung inward on rusty hinges. A narrow shaft led another 8 feet down to a round stone room. No windows, no doors, just the hatch above us. In the middle stood a rough wooden table with shackles attached to it. Dried stains, dark, old. On the table lay a single page from a Bible, Revelation 6, the rider on the pale horse. I felt the weight of every night call I had ever answered. This was more than trespassing. This was sacrilege. Emily clung to my arm. "Officer Hart, please." Her voice trembled as she pointed to the wall opposite the table. There, carved deep into the stone, was my name, Dana Hart, with the date April 30th, 2025 underneath. My pulse raced. That was today. Someone had carved it after we arrived, or before. I radioed again, my voice tense. "Central, this is Hart. I have a subcrypt. Evidence of a ritual. Murder. Send backup and a spiritual advisor." No answer. I slammed the hatch shut and pressed myself against it. The whispering turned into singing, a choir of children's voices echoing from invisible corridors. Emily sobbed. I pulled her close. "Follow me," I said quietly. I tapped the table with the handle of my flashlight. The floor beneath it shook. A crack ran in a zigzag pattern from the tabletop outward. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Emily screamed. The shackles clanked as if moved by invisible hands. I grabbed her and ran to the ladder. Behind us, the room shook. Stone slabs shifted and sealed the hatch with a thunderous bang. I pulled at the ring, to no avail. The singing grew louder. I pressed my back against the hatch and braced myself against it. Emily shook me. "We can't stay." I kicked the wood. Splinters flew through the air. The singing became intelligible. "Come to us. Remember, stay with us." My training told me to remain calm. I whispered into my radio, even though I knew headquarters wasn't listening. "This is Hart to all. If you can hear me, send help. We're trapped under the little stone church in Oak Hollow." I dropped the microphone and turned to Emily. "We're getting out of here." She nodded through her tears. I searched the walls. Where the murals ended, there was a stone block slightly ajar. I lifted it. It gave way, revealing a narrow crawl space just wide enough for me. Emily hesitated. I lifted her up. "Trust me." I crawled inside. The crawl space sloped upward, dirt and debris scraping against my uniform. The singing stopped and was replaced by the sound of rushing water. I came to a small drainage tunnel whose concrete walls were covered with algae, and where the water flowed into an iron grate. Daylight shimmered behind the bars. I set Emily down and wedged her flashlight against the wall. "Stay here," I whispered, pressing against the grate. It rattled but held. I knelt down and pried with my fingers until a bar bent. The gap grew larger. I waved her through. She slipped out into the muddy courtyard. I followed her and pulled myself through the gap between the bars. I fell onto the soggy grass as the grate snapped back. Rain poured down on me. Emily ran to the patrol car and pounded on the window. I got to my feet and looked back at the church. Except for my flashlight still shining through the basement window, there was nothing to be seen. No sign of movement. I grabbed my radio. "Hart. Crawled out of the drain. Civilian safe. Need rescue and forensic team. Possible victim chamber under the church." My voice was shaking. There was static. Then I heard a calm voice. "Roger. Units on their way. Arriving in 2 minutes." 2 minutes. Too long. I approached the side wall of the church and pressed my palm against the stone. The names in the tunnel flashed through my mind. The smell of damp earth and old blood. The page with the pale horseman burned behind my eyelids. I clenched my fist. "It's over," I muttered, but I wasn't sure I believed it. Soft footsteps behind me. I spun around and drew my weapon. Emily stood there, her eyes wide but silent. Behind her lay the grate on the lawn, broken open. My flashlight lay next to it, still on. I picked it up. The symbol from the bottom of the chamber glowed in the light, freshly drawn in charcoal. I knelt down and traced it with my finger, a broken cross inside a circle of runes. I got goosebumps. Emily whispered, "They said you were one of them." My jaw went cold. I stood up and backed away, the radio in my hand. The church door creaked. Reverend Collins stepped out into the rain, his robe soaked, his face expressionless. He raised a hand. "Welcome back, Officer Hart." I raised my gun. "Stay back." He smiled, a slow, sad smile. "You remembered?" A flash of lightning split the sky. I blinked, and he was gone. Only the echo of his voice remained. "You belong here," Emily screamed. I turned and saw the grate of the tunnel closing in the drainage ditch, mud swirling above it, blocking our way. The rain grew heavier. I grabbed Emily's hand. "We have to get out of here." I pulled her toward the patrol car. As I started the engine, I took one last look at the church. A pale face stared back at me from the upper window, now without a smile, just empty eyes. Then the window shattered into a web of cracks radiating outward from the center. I floored the gas pedal. The headlights cut through the rain as I sped away. My radio crackled. New units were being called out. But in the rearview mirror, the church disappeared into the fog, silent again, its stones hiding secrets that would outlive us both. And in the passenger seat, Emily stared at me, her lips trembling. "They're coming back for you, officer." I didn't answer. I couldn't, because I knew she was right. I ran through the pouring rain to my patrol car, my heart beating so loudly that I was sure Emily could hear it. Sirens wailed in the distance. Reinforcements were finally arriving, and red and blue flashing lights streaked across the wet asphalt. I threw Emily into the passenger seat and slammed the door shut. As I turned to get in, the church door behind me opened slowly and deliberately, as if trying to pull me back. I forced myself to keep going, jumped into the car, and slammed the door just as a flash of lightning split the sky. I turned on the siren and sped off, the tires clawing at the wet asphalt. In the rearview mirror, the church stood in irregular light. The stained glass windows were dark, the stone walls gleaming. For a moment, I thought I saw movement in the upper window, a silhouette looking back at me. Then the window went black. Emily sat there trembling, rain dripping from her hair. I swallowed hard. "Are you okay?" I asked in a hoarse voice. She nodded, her eyes wide. "You're here," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the siren. I glanced at the floor on the passenger side. There lay her small flashlight, its light still dimly illuminating the mud-scribbled address of the church. The radio crackled. "Hart, units will be on site in 2 minutes. An ambulance is on its way for the civilian. Headquarters wants a full search." I turned off the microphone. Protocol required me to secure the crime scene, but my gut told me that the real danger was already on the loose. We raced to the parking lot. Patrol cars swarmed, their headlights piercing the rain. Uniformed officers ran under the canopy, their radios blaring. I turned off the engine and jumped out. Emily slipped behind me. I nodded to Officer Ruiz, who carefully handcuffed her. "She's safe," I said. Ruiz nodded curtly and led Emily to the ambulance. I turned back to the church with Lieutenant Monroe at my side. Monroe's face was grim under his rain cap. "Dana, what the hell happened down there?" I swallowed. "Something ritualistic. A crypt under the basement." names carved in stone. A chamber with shackles, a hatch leading to a sewer. We just barely got out. I paused. And I think they marked me. I tapped my chest where I had felt the heat of the rune. Look. Monroe shone his flashlight on my uniform. In the mud on my jacket was a smudge of charcoal, the broken cross inside the circle of runes. He frowned. That's not in any suspect report. I shook my head. That wasn't there before. I glanced at the side wall of the church. The beam of light fell on something written in chalk near the floor. Another symbol, half smudged by the rain. Monroe stepped closer and read it. Are you sure this is a police matter? I didn't answer. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. A soft voice came from the dark entrance. You belong here. Monroe and I drew our weapons and moved toward the entrance. The vestibule was empty except for dripping water and the echo of our footsteps. The light from the body cam on my chest flickered, illuminating words scrawled on the floor. Remember me. I swallowed, and I wasn't there before. Monroe looked around the room. Get a forensic team here. I want every inch searched for fingerprints. He pressed his radio. Call a structural engineer too. This place could collapse if there are more hidden rooms. While he was talking, I crept toward the stairs leading to the basement. My legs felt like lead. Every instinct told me to run, but I needed answers. Monroe noticed. Stay here, he ordered. I hesitated, then shook my head. Not yet. I descended into the nave, then into the sacristy, and finally to the bottom step of the staircase. The beam swayed above the corridor. The names were gone, washed away, or erased. The hatch cover was back in place, flush with the floor. The burn circle had cooled to normal stone temperature. The broken pieces of the pipe organ were gone. It was as if the crypt had never existed. I whispered, Emily. My words echoed. I crouched down and ran my fingers over the seam of the hatch. No scratches, no ringing. Monroe's voice crackled. Heart? Everything okay? I knocked on the wall. It sounded hollow, different from the rest of the basement. I pressed my palm against it. A part gave way. I held my breath. I pushed, and the stone swung open on invisible hinges, revealing the spiral staircase. Monroe's flashlight beam met mine. He swallowed. Jesus! I climbed down, Monroe close behind me. The stale air enveloped us. We reached the lowest chamber. It was empty. No table, no shackles, no page from Revelation. But on the floor lay a single shoe, the little girl's shoe. Wet, muddy, as if it had just been worn. Next to it lay the rosary, freshly strung. Monroe picked it up, his face pale. Then the singing began, soft, distant, children's voices singing an old hymn in Latin. The beam of light trembled as I pointed it at the opposite wall. Words appeared, scrawled in fresh charcoal. You've come back. Monroe cursed. We have to get out of here now. He turned to climb up, but I froze. In the middle of the chamber, the floor shifted. A low rumbling sound. The floor beneath Monroe's boots cracked open, revealing a dark void. He pulled his foot back. The crack grew larger, then closed again. He stared at me. We're done for. He ran up the stairs. I followed him, my heart pounding. The hatch swung shut behind me. I rammed it with my shoulder until it opened, then we ran up to the landing in the basement. Monroe was panting. What the hell is this place? I shook my head. I don't know, but it's alive. We stepped into the church. Forensic investigators poured in, taking fingerprints and photos. Monroe barked orders. I stepped aside and looked at the stained glass windows. Moonlight streamed through them, but one pane was broken. The image of a shepherd watching lost sheep was crisscrossed with hairline cracks radiating from the lamb's eye. My radio crackled. "Lieutenant Monroe, the structural engineer says the foundation is unstable. Evacuate the building." Monroe nodded to me. "We have to go." Outside, the rain had eased and was now only falling lightly. Emily sat on the curb, a blanket draped around her shoulders, her eyes red. I crouched down next to her. "Are you okay?" She nodded. She pointed to the church. "He was watching us." I followed her gaze. A figure stood in the shadows of the upper window. It wasn't Reverend Collins. Too thin, too short. It was a child, the little girl from the crypt. She raised a hand and pressed it against the glass. Then she smiled, an impossibly wide, empty grin, and disappeared. Emily screamed. I grabbed her hand. Monroe appeared and shone his flashlight at the window. "What?" I swallowed. "We have to seal this place off, forever." Monroe shook his head. "We can't just lock it up. It's a crime scene." I stood up. Some crimes can't be solved. I turned toward the church door. It swung open as if pushed by a breeze. I stepped inside one last time. The church was silent. I raised my voice. "Who's here?" A single answer, the echo of children's laughter. I stepped back. Monroe came to me. We watched as the door slowly closed by itself. The church stood empty, its stones gleaming, its windows dark. But I knew better. Behind those walls and corridors forgotten by time, something was waiting. Something that remembered. As we walked away, I felt the gaze of invisible eyes on me. My cell phone vibrated in my pocket. A new message from an unknown number. I opened it. A photo, the broken runic cross, freshly carved into my bedroom wall. Scribbled underneath in charcoal were the words, "Welcome home." I dropped the phone. Monroe caught it. He read the text and turned pale. "Dana, you have to get out of here." I nodded with an empty voice. "I will, but I'll never leave it behind." In the distance, the church bell rang, even though there was no one there to ring it. The sound echoed across the empty property, a call and a warning. I got into the patrol car. Monroe climbed in next to me. Emily was already sitting there with her eyes closed. I started the engine. The headlights illuminated the gravel road that disappeared into the fog. As we drove away, the bell rang again, quieter, sadder. In the rearview mirror, the church disappeared, bathed in pale moonlight. By the time we left the gravel lot, the rain had turned to a fine drizzle. My chest burned with adrenaline and cold air. Behind us, the church disappeared into the shadows, its broken windows dark, its stones gleaming. But I could still feel its gaze on me, a weight pressing down on the back seat. Emily crouched in the passenger seat, the blanket wrapped tightly around her, her eyes wide but silent. Monroe drove with grim concentration, glancing repeatedly in the rearview mirror as if he expected something to appear in the back seat. I swallowed against a lump in my throat. "What now?" I asked quietly. Monroe clenched his jaw. "We're reporting this. Everything we found, everything we saw. Then we'll recommend that the county declare the building unfit for habitation. It's more than just a structural hazard." He glanced at me. "Can you finish the report tonight?" I nodded, even though my hand was shaking on the console. "I'll write it, but I'm not sure words can do it justice." Emily stirred. "Officer Hart, are they going to come after you?" Her voice trembled. I turned around and forced a gentle smile. "They won't, not if we keep going." But I couldn't be sure. I could still feel the heat of the rune under my uniform, the echo of children's laughter in my ears. Monroe parked in front of the station. The lights were on in the building. Night shift detectives sat at their desks, coffee cups steaming. I turned off the engine. "I'll take you in," I said, nodding to Emily. She unbuckled her seatbelt and got out, Monroe following her. I stood there for a moment staring into the fog. The echo of the church bell, even though the bell was silent, still reverberated in my head. I closed my eyes and imagined the burn, turned and walked away, disappearing down the hallway. I stood there frozen until Monroe found me. "Are you okay?" he asked. I looked at the chaplain's book on the floor, then at Monroe. "We have to go back." Monroe frowned. "Are you serious?" I nodded. "There's more. They're not finished." An hour later, I drove Emily home. The streetlights glowed through the fog. She stepped onto her porch, turned around, and hugged me. "Thank you, officer." I ruffled her hair. "Stay home tonight." She closed the door. I saw the curtain move at the window, but no one looked out. I sighed and got back into the patrol car. Monroe got in next to me. "Are you sure you want to go back to that hellhole?" I started the engine. "I don't have a choice." He sighed. "All right, but we have a plan." I nodded. "We'll bring spotlights, cameras, and backup. People who can document everything. No more secrets." He looked at me. "And if we find them?" I stared at the dark road ahead of us. "Then we'll face them. Because if I don't remember, they've won." Monroe hesitated, then turned on the siren. We rolled toward the church once more. The broken window glinted in the rearview mirror, and for a fleeting moment I saw the face of a little girl pressed against the glass, smiling. Then she disappeared into the fog. I swallowed. Let's go. I get out of the patrol car and slam the door behind me. The rain has picked up. Each drop hits the hood like little stones, and the gravel crunches under my boots as I walk to the side entrance of the church. My breath fogs up the beam of my flashlight. The beam shakes because my hand is shaking, and I've been doing this long enough to know that it means something inside me is breaking. The door won't budge. The old wood is swollen with moisture. I press my shoulder against it, and it gives way with a creak. Inside, the air is colder, damp, smelling of mold and old incense. My radio crackles once and then falls silent. Reinforcements are 10 minutes away. 10 minutes in this place can feel like an eternity. I search the sanctuary. Moonlight streams through the stained glass windows, bathing the tile floor in shades of blue, purple, and red. A pew lies overturned near the altar. The Bible on the lectern is open, the pages fluttering even though there is no breeze. I reach out and touch the page, damp, smudged. I wonder who was here before me and what they saw. I walk down the aisle, every step echoes. My hand hovers over my holster. I go over the call again. A silent emergency call from the church. The caretaker is missing. The caretaker's son is too scared to come back. A classic case for a small town. I've dealt with abandoned meth labs and prank calls before, but this is different. This is sacred ground. A soft noise behind me. I turn around and shine my flashlight over the pews. Nothing. Just shadows gathering in the arches. I clear my throat. "Officer Hart, Stillwater County Sheriff's Office. If anyone is here, please respond." My voice sounds hollow. No answer. I walk to the sacristy door. It's ajar. I push it open. The sacristy is small. Vestments in moth-eaten bags, chalices tarnished with age. Muddy footprints lead to the back of the room, to a wall panel that I didn't see on the floor plan. The panel is loose. I kneel down and pry it open. Behind it is darkness. A staircase leads down. My radio crackles. "Dana, everything okay?" Deputy Lynn. I force myself to stay calm. "I found a hidden staircase. I'm going down." "Be careful," he says. I turn off the radio to avoid interference. I climb down the stone steps covered with water. Each step sends drops falling into the darkness. The beam of light reveals old mortar, mushrooms, and, in some places, fresh scratches. My stomach tightens. At the end of the stairwell, the hallway opens into a vaulted room. Damp stone walls, iron rings at hip height. In the corner lies a single red sneaker, covered in mud. My heart is racing. I shine the flashlight around. Shelves with broken church pews, stacks of rotting hymnals. In the back corner, Tommy, the janitor's son, crouches in a fetal position, rocking back and forth. He looks up, his eyes large and empty. I crouch down. "Tommy, it's Officer Hart. Are you okay?" He says nothing, just points to the wall. I follow his finger. Symbols, loops, and angles are carved into the stone like runes. They are dark with age or something even older. Beneath them are two words, scratched and jagged. "He is waiting." My radio crackles. "Dana, are you still there?" "I'm locked in the basement," I whisper. "I need help." The static, then nothing. I put the radio in my pocket. Adrenaline rushes through my body. I stand up and point my flashlight at the opposite wall. A door I hadn't seen before. Raw, unpainted wood. I try the handle. Locked. I pull out my gun and turn on the laser. The beam trembles over the door. I hear a faint scratching sound from behind it. I turn around. The sneaker is gone. Tommy is gone. The room seems smaller, the air more stifling. My chest burns. I step up to the door and press my shoulder against it. It creaks and gives way an inch. I brace myself with my foot and push harder. Something scratches against stone behind me. My flashlight sinks. I turn around and fire a shot into the darkness. The shot echoes. No impact sound, just the bullet ricocheting off the stone. A faint moan penetrates the arches. Not human. I go back to the door and push again. It gives way. I stumble into a narrow tunnel. I pull the door shut behind me. The tunnel rises. Bricks, mortar, damp. I follow it, my flashlight dancing across the walls. The moaning follows me, growing louder. A chorus of whispers, distorted children's laughter. The tunnel ends at a trapdoor. Rusty hinges. I pry it open and climb into the sacristy cabinet. My heart is pounding. I close the door quietly. Above me, voices, Lynn and another deputy. I open the door a crack and stick my head out. "Get him," I hiss. Lynn nods. They cross the room and pry open the hidden door. I follow them with my gun drawn. They tear the door open, empty. The basement behind it is dark and silent. No sign of Tommy, no footprints. Just the sneaker in the corner, neatly placed. I pick it up and put it in a bag. Evidence. I radio headquarters. The cell is empty, no sign of the victim, found a child's shoe. Lynn's light shines across the walls and finds the runes. He kneels down and takes a photo. I stare at them. He's waiting, like a promise. It's quiet upstairs in the church. The rain has eased off. Pastor Ramirez comes towards me with red eyes. "He told me to guard this place," he says. "Since the fire, I hear them at night." I nod, but I've heard enough. I get into the patrol car. As Lynn drives me back, I look at the sneaker on the seat between us. Is it splattered with blood, or is it rust? It's hard to tell in the dim light of the dashboard. At the station, I write the report. They'll dismiss it as an aberration, a hallucination, or a prank. But I know what I heard, that whispering, that moaning. I know what I saw. That night I lie awake in bed, listening. The house is quiet until I hear it, soft footsteps in the hallway. I tense up, nothing. Then a child's voice whispers in my ear. He's waiting. The walls of my bedroom seem too close. I sit up, my heart pounding, listening to the soft beeping of the smoke alarm. The whisper, "He's waiting," echoes in my head. I force myself out of bed, grab my jacket, and drive back to the station, because I know I can't sleep until I understand what I've triggered. Back in St. Mark's, the yellow barrier tape is still fluttering in the damp wind. Deputy Lynn comes toward me from under the broken oak tree. His face is pale. We check the sneakers for fingerprints. No matches. He holds up the plastic bag with the evidence. "Are you sure that came from the basement?" I nod. Tommy's size, the same abrasion pattern. I look up at the church tower, which stands out darkly against the cloudy sky. The symbols were carved with something else. We enter the nave. The moonlight has disappeared, replaced by the dim light of our flashlights. I lead him to the sacristy cabinet. He kneels down and photographs the trapdoor. "This isn't marked on the blueprints," Lynn says. "This tunnel shouldn't exist." I crouch down against the wall and run a finger over the runes. They are cold and damp, as if the stone itself were bleeding. These symbols, I've never seen anything like this in a file before. I stand up, my shoulders tense. We need to map this out. We need to find out where the tunnel leads. Lynn calls K9 on the radio. Within an hour, the dog's harness squeaks as he sniffs at the trapdoor. He growls and scratches at the wood. We lift the trapdoor, and the dog runs down the tunnel, barks once, high and desperate, then silence. We wait. The seconds drag on. Finally, the dog returns, eyes wild, fur bristling, tail tucked between his legs. No body, no clues, just muddy paws. I swallow. "He's waiting," I whisper. The dog whimpers. We lock the door and go to the pastor's office. Ramirez sits behind his desk, his hands folded. His voice is monotonous. "The basement was sealed after the fire in 1924. They say children died there, choir boys. The church covered it up to avoid a scandal." I feel the blood freeze in my veins. "Choir boys?" He nods. "The records have been lost. The names were deleted. But the families whispered about it. They said the caretaker locked them in as punishment and never opened the door." My stomach tightens. So, the basement wasn't just a storage room, it was a prison. "And something was left behind," says Ramirez. "Something angry." I lean back. The fluorescent tube flickers. "We need to call in architects and structural engineers, someone who can map the basement, and historians. We have to find those records, if they still exist." Ramirez exhales deeply. "I'll search the diocesan archives, but you should be careful. This place, it's hungry." I nod, even though I don't believe in hungry churches. Not yet, anyway. 48 hours later. The ground around St. Mark's is a maze of scanners and survey stakes. Engineers wearing hard hats measure the ground radar readings. I stand with my arms crossed, watching the technician map the tunnel network. The display shows a huge underground structure. Corridors that extend beyond the familiar basement, winding beneath the altar area and passing under the street. I glance at the image, a web of darkness. One passage ends directly beneath the baptismal font, another beneath the bell tower, and one, a dead end, beneath the old schoolyard. No exit. Deputy Lynn approaches. "Are you ready?" He is holding a thermal imaging camera in his hand. We are equipped to go back in. I nod and swallow the lump in my throat. Let's find out what's down there. We descend into the sacristy and open the trapdoor. The first thing that hits me is the smell, damp earth and something even more foul, like old blood. I switch on my headlamp. Lynn follows me with the thermal imaging camera, whose screen shows cool blue spots, then a warm spot near the opposite wall. We walk along the main tunnel. Footsteps echo. My radio is off. The noise is drowned out by the hum of the tunnel. The walls are closing in. My chest tightens. I think of Tommy's sneaker. I think of the whispering. He's waiting. We reach the fork. Lynn pans the thermal imaging camera across the walls. Look at that. The runes glow warmer on the screen. An anomalous heat signature. The stones themselves are radiating energy. I reach out and touch one. The stone is smooth, wet. My glove absorbs moisture. I press my palm against it and feel a pulse, faint, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. I flinch. Lynn's flashlight shines on my hand. The glove is soaked with a dark liquid, not water. Blood? Lynn whispers. I shake my hand free. The liquid drips hissing onto the floor. We step back as the rune pulses again. Then the corridor lights up with phosphorescent veins tracing the symbols on the wall. The tunnel shakes. Run! I shout. We sprint back to the stairs. The walls rumble behind us. With our hearts pounding and our feet pounding, we storm into the sacristy. I slam the trapdoor shut. Lynn locks it. We lean against the door, panting. The building above us shakes. A low moan, as if 100 voices were screaming. I press my ear against the wood. Silence, then a slow scratching sound, as if nails were being dragged across the other side. Lynn curses. We have to evacuate. The structure is in danger. I nod. Pass it on. That night, the church is boarded up. Engineers warn that it could collapse. The diocese sends workers to dismantle the hidden walls. I stand across the street and watch the light and shadows dance behind the boards. My phone vibrates. Lab results. The liquid on my glove. 50% human blood, 50% unknown protein, no DNA match. The runes. Material analysis shows a crystalline structure not found in any earthly rock. I stare at the dark silhouette of St. Mark's. The boards cover the wall of the sacristy. The trapdoor is sealed. But I know better. I heard the whisper. He's waiting. 2 weeks later, I'm back on patrol. Different district, same night shift. It's raining lightly. I drive past a church tower and slow down. My breath catches. The silhouette looks familiar. Stone arches, narrow windows. My radio crackles. Officer Hart, 10-8? The dispatcher. I clear my throat. 10-4. I drive on, my eyes fixed ahead. But out of the corner of my eye, I see a flash of light through the stained glass windows. My hand clenches the steering wheel. I know what's waiting for me down there, and I know that one day I'll have to go back, because he's patient. He waits. I feel the weight of my service weapon on my leg as I steer the patrol car through the foggy streets. The image of the church still haunts me. The boarded-up windows like dark eyes watching me. I can't shake the buzzing under the boards, the memory of the stone pulsing under my fingertips. Sleep won't come, so I return. I park behind the boarded-up sacristy. The night is silent. I slip out, radio off, flashlight dimmed. I walk around the building to the back door I broke open days ago. The wood is splintered. Someone has tried to reinforce it. I push against it with my shoulder. It holds. I duck inside. The altar room is empty. Moonlight shines through the cracks in the boards, casting pale streaks of light across the hallway. I climb over the overturned pew, my boots silent on the tiles. I breathe shallowly. I hear the humming, the scratching, the whispering again. He's waiting. I find the door to the sacristy cabinet and pry it open. The trapdoor beneath it gleams. I hesitate. Lynn warned me, the engineers warned me, but I lift it up. The tunnel yawns. Beneath me. I let myself fall in, roll gently, and come to my feet in a crouching position. The air is colder here. The beam of my flashlight trembles. The walls of the corridor show new scratches, very fresh. I move forward. The runes in front of me glow faintly green. My heart is pounding. I check my radio. Dead. A soft moan vibrates in front of me. I grip my pistol tighter and walk toward the runes. I crouch down and run the tip of my gloved finger over a symbol. It pulses. I pull my hand back. The corridor shakes. A door appears in the stone wall where there was none before, a rough opening, like a wound. Behind it is complete darkness. I gather all my courage and step through. The beam of light reveals a circular chamber. In the center stands an upside-down stone baptismal font, still containing water that moves even though there is no breeze. Around it are dozens of children's shoes arranged in a circle. Among them is a red sneaker, covered in mud, worn down. My chest tightens. I circle the basin. The air vibrates. I kneel down and touch the water. It's ice cold. Waves spread out even though I haven't moved. I stand up. A soft giggle comes from the tunnel behind me. I spin around. The shoes are moving. One falls into the basin. Water splashes up. I step back, my heart pounding in my throat. "Show yourself," I shout. My voice echoes. The giggling stops. Silence. Then footsteps. Quiet. Running. I fire a warning shot. The echo reverberates. I step forward. The water in the baptismal font glows faintly. I swallow. Words are carved into the opposite wall. She's gone. Below them are footprints in the wet stones. Small ones, running away. I follow them with my flashlight. The tunnel rises. I climb up, my boots slipping on the slippery stones. The tunnel spits me out at the base of the bell tower. Boards have been torn out of the narrow, pointed arch window. Moonlight and fog. I climb through. Outside, the night air is sharp. I take a deep breath. Down below, the church grounds are empty. I shine my flashlight around. No Tommy, no Jacobs, no figures, only shadows. I slide down and go to the main door. It's locked. I push against it and it opens. I step inside and the door slams shut behind me. I turn around, not a breath of wind. The Bible on the lectern is open to the book of Exodus. The pages flutter. I step closer. Scribbled in fresh ink at the edge of the page is 10-4. My radio crackles in my pocket. I take it out, static. Then Deputy Lynn's voice. "Dana? Are you there? Headquarters wants to know why you're not answering." I swallow. I'm on an investigation. Stay on the line. I turn off the radio. I hear soft footsteps behind me. I turn around. A little girl is standing next to the altar, in a white soaked and muddy dress, her face hidden behind her hair. I kneel down. "Tommy?" She tilts her head. She's not Tommy. I see the dress, a choir robe. She raises a pale hand and points to the baptismal font above us. I stand up. "Who are you?" No answer. She turns around and glides toward the nave. I follow her. The tile floor becomes warm under my boots. Light rays creep out of the stained glass windows and surround her. She stops in the middle of the aisle. I shine the flashlight on her. Her eyes, black holes. She giggles, fake, hollow. The tiles beneath her feet crack, thin flashes of light shooting out. I take a step back. She raises both arms and the humming returns, soft and powerful. The boards above us shake. I raise my gun. "Stop!" The beam of light hits her face, smooth where her features should be, like polished marble. She dissolves into mist and floats toward the baptismal font. I rush forward, but the mist seeps into the stone basin, causing the water to swirl faster. Then silence. The mist has disappeared. The baptismal font stands upright. The water is calm. I kneel down and touch the edge. Engraved beneath it in tiny letters are the words, "Protect me." There's a crash above. I run to the sacristy door. It's locked again. I kick it, ram it with my shoulder. Splinters fly. The door gives way. I storm into the sacristy, my heart racing. Lynn is standing there with 2 deputy sheriffs, their guns drawn. "Dana," Lynn calls out. Relief and fear are written all over his face. "We heard gunshots." I nod, my voice trembling. She was here, or at children's choir, baptismal font. I fall silent. Lynn glances at the door to the tunnel. "We'll seal it for good." He nods to the deputy sheriffs, who board it up with planks. I watch as the green runes disappear beneath the plywood. Outside, Pastor Ramirez appears, pale. "It's happening again," he whispers. I look at him. Yes. Later, at home, I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and the neon light is bright. The red sneaker is in an evidence bag. Next to it is a shard from the stained glass window that I broke out. I stare at both of them. I feel the buzzing in my bones. My cell phone vibrates. The lab results for the shard. Unknown alloy, the moonlight breaks into shapes, tiny runes. The same symbols. I close my eyes. I hear the giggling, the whispering. He's waiting. I know I won't find peace. Not until I return. Back to that church, to the tunnel, to whatever lies beyond. Because the message in the writing was clear. Protect me. And now I am her protector, unwillingly, trapped. I get up, grab my jacket. The night is young. I walk to my patrol car. The road to St. Mark's stretches out before me in fog and moonlight. I drive off, without lights, without radio. In the rearview mirror, the church tower disappears into the fog. But I know it's there, waiting. And so am I. I slip through the boarded-up entrance doors of St. Mark's, my heart pounding. The stale air inside smells of damp wood and old incense, but underneath there is something more foul-smelling, something alive. The beam of my flashlight cuts a narrow path through the darkness, illuminating dust particles swirling around like pale ghosts. I stop at the foot of the nave and listen. Silence, except for the distant dripping of water. I think of the baptismal font, the circle of children's shoes, the little girl with the hollow eyes. I think of the words carved in stone, "Protect me." I think of Tommy's sneaker and the whisper echoing in my head, "He's waiting." I gather all my courage and walk toward the sacristy cabinet. The trapdoor stares at me like an open mouth. I let myself fall through and roll over the smooth stone. My boots come to a halt in the vaulted tunnel. I stand up, the flashlight trembling. The walls here are damp, and something else. I crouch down and run a gloved finger across the floor. Dark drops. Blood? I point the light upward. The runes glow faintly green and pulsate like a heartbeat. I go further in. Each of my steps echoes, overlapping until it sounds like dozens of footsteps, even though I am alone. The air grows colder, my breath forming mist. I turn a corner and the tunnel opens into the shoe chamber. In the middle stands the upturned basin, water splashing out of it. Shoes. Last time there were barely a dozen, now there are hundreds. Children's sizes, but also adult sizes. A macabre circle. I step closer. The surface of the water breaks and reforms, even though there is no wind. I kneel down and touch the edge. The stone is warm. The water laps around my glove. I look around. Shoes pressed firmly against the wall, pointing inward like stakes. In the faint beam of light I see movement. A figure crouching at the other end. I whistle softly. "Tommy? Jacobs?" No answer. I approach. The figure stands up. A child, pale, with black eyes. A choir robe hangs over its narrow shoulders. It stares at me. "Why are you here?" I whisper. The water is still. It tilts its head. Then it points down into the water. I shine my lamp on the surface. Something moves beneath it, a pale hand with long fingers pressing against the basin from below. I stumble back, my heart pounding in my throat. The hand withdraws. The water calms down. A soft giggle surrounds me, although no one is visible. I go back to the tunnel entrance and the ground vibrates. A soft rumbling, like distant thunder. The runes glow brightly. My shoes rattle. I turn around and shine my flashlight. Hundreds of shoes are moving, slowly approaching the baptismal font. Panic breaks out. I draw my gun. "Back!" I shout at the shoes. The beam trembles. The shoes stop. The singing begins, a soft, childlike choir. "Protect me, protect me." The walls pulsate. The water in the baptismal font shoots up and pours over the stone floor. I step back. My boots are wet. The singing grows louder. My radio crackles in my pocket. I ignore it. The water in the baptismal font forms shapes. Tiny silhouettes of children writhing like little fish. Their mouths open in silent screams. The pale girl steps into the circle and raises her arms. The silhouettes rush toward her. She merges with them and becomes a swirling mass of pale limbs and voices. The shoes clatter. The runes glow. I fire a warning shot into the ceiling. Stone splinters rain down. The singing stops. The water flows back into the basin. The figures disappear. The girl is gone. The water basin is silent. The shoes lie scattered and lifeless. The runes fade. Silence returns to the tunnel. I stand there trembling. My gun hangs limply. The air smells of ozone and decay. I wipe my gloves on my pants. They're wet. I pick up Tommy's red sneaker, which is lying among dozens of others. I put it in my pocket. I'll pack it later. I go back into the tunnel. The walls hum softly, then fall silent. I reach the sacristy closet. The edge of the trap door is splintered. Lynn must have tried to reinforce it. I slam it shut and brace it with my shoulder. It's quiet upstairs in the church. The windows are boarded up, moonlight streaming through the cracks. I walk to the altar and place a hand on the pew. My legs are shaking. I think of the children in the choir, of Jacob's, of the little girl. I think of the dead cell, of the whispering, of the promise. He's waiting. I step outside. The night air is cold. The rain has eased and turned to mist. Deputy Lynn's patrol car is there with the engine running. He gets out, his face grim. "Everything okay?" he asks. I nod, but my voice fails me. "We have to seal it, forever." He hesitates. "What about them?" I hold up the red sneaker. "We'll bury him, then we'll get out of here." Lynn nods. We nail the door to the sacristy shut again, and nail thick boards over the trap door. We ring the church bell once, as a warning. Then we step back. The boards rattle. The church tower groans. I shine my flashlight. A single board moves as if being pushed from inside. I glance at Lynn. He swallows. We step back. I get into the patrol car. As I start the engine, I look in the rearview mirror. Behind the boards, the church windows glow faintly green. Beneath them, the runes pulsate. My radio crackles. Headquarters asks for an update. I respond. Then I turn it off. I drive off into the fog. The church disappears in the rearview mirror, but I know it's still there, still waiting. And so am I. I get out of the patrol car into the cold dawn air. The fog clings to my uniform and beads on my badge. Behind me, St. Mark's Church stands still. Its boarded-up windows dark, its secrets locked away. At least, so it seems. My gloved sneaker hits my leg as I approach the entrance to the sacristy one last time. The nails I hammered in yesterday are bent outward, as if something had pushed against them from the inside. I press my palm against the wood. It's warm, almost pulsing. My service weapon feels heavier than ever. I pull out my flashlight, pry the boards aside, and slip through. The door hangs in its hinges. I push it open and step into the sacristy. No cupboard door, someone has ripped it out. The trapdoor is open, the wood torn at the edges. I don't hesitate. I drop into the tunnel. The beam of light dances across the damp stone walls. The runes in front of me are dark now, but I can feel their presence. A memory in stone. I move quickly, my boots splashing through the remaining water. I reach the shoe chamber. The baptismal font stands upright, empty. Shoes lie scattered around. I let the beam of light wander. No girl, no outlines, only silence. Relief wells up inside me, then vanishes again. I kneel down and wipe the debris from the edge of the basin. On the underside, barely visible, is engraved "Beyond." A whisper in my ear, "Beyond." I spin around, no one. The tunnel entrance has disappeared. Instead of wood, there is only solid stone. My heart is pounding. I bang against the wall. Lynn, status. My radio is dead. I step back and shine the light on the wall. The runes glow, white hot. The floor shakes. Dozens of pale hands burst out of the walls. Stone fingers break through the mortar and reach for me. Shoes fall over as bodies take shape. Children in choir robes with desperate faces and empty eyes. They drift toward me, their silent mouths opening in silent pleas. I stumble back. The choir forms a circle. Water from the baptismal font seeps through cracks and collects at their feet. The children raise their arms simultaneously. One voice, many voices, echoes, "Protect us, take our place." My gun clicks empty. I drop it. The children reach for me, cold, insubstantial. Their touch sends pain through my limbs. I sink to my knees in the water. The tunnel hums. The runes glow and burn the stone. I close my eyes. The choir's singing fills my head. A distorted lullaby. I feel a weight lift from my chest. When I open my eyes, I am alone in the tunnel. The children have disappeared. The baptismal font has crumbled to dust. Shoes lie scattered around, silent. The runes are dark. The broken trapdoor behind me. I crawl into the sacristy. Wood splinters under my feet. I squeeze through the sacristy door into the nave. The light of dawn filters through the stained glass windows, soft pink and gold. The church looks normal, holy, no trace of last night's horror. I stumble outside. Lynn rushes over. "Dana, are you okay?" His face blurs. I clench the red sneaker. "It's over," I whisper. He helps me to the patrol car. At the station, I write the final report. Tunnel collapse during investigation. No remains found. Church closed. I sign it. That evening, I unpack my equipment at home. The sneaker is lying on my desk. I reach for it to pack it away and freeze. In tiny letters, the words "Still Waters" are engraved on the sole. A shiver runs down my spine. I drop it. The light flickers. My radio on the desk crackles. A silent emergency call from St. Mark's. The caller hangs up. I grab my jacket. "He's waiting," I mutter, and drive back into the night.